there will be no real non-controlled currency in the world.
We're coming for you, banks.
Bitcoin is punk rock. Deal with it.
You split, we bankrupt you.
Do you use Lightning wallets to pay for things or not?
No.
Bitcoin Cash would be seen as more of a threat to the United States hegemony than Bitcoin.
Miles Town, what's your favorite kind of money?
Bitcoin Cash.
Hello and welcome back to the Bitcoin Cash podcast. Following Bitcoin Cash on its rise to global reserve currency, this is episode number 44, the importance of being Bitcoin and the Bitcoin Cash City, featuring special guest Bitcoin Jason. Today is Tuesday, the 5th of April, 2022. Jett is in the producer's chair, and my guest is described himself as a former maximalist, now a YouTube Bitcoin Cash content creator at Bitcoin Jason. He's done Bitcoin Cash Coast merchant adoption, a large sponsor of poverty relief and merchant adoption in Uganda, been in Bitcoin since April 2017, lives on BCH every single day. Welcome to the show, Bitcoin Jason. Tell us your story. How did you get into Bitcoin?
Well, glad to be on, guys. Good to see you, Jett and Jeremy in the flesh.
That's
yeah,
it.
how did I get into Bitcoin? Well, it all started with about 2008 with the currency crisis going on, and I was listening to a podcast, American podcast, and they were talking about Bitcoin, and I went, "Oh, okay, righto," and I put
In
it in my memory
2008 or after that?
Probably a bit after that. I was listening to, my memory is a little bit vague because it was around the currency crisis. Hang on, Obama was in power. So when was that?
Well, that could have been.
Sure, he was elected into office in 2008. I was in elementary school, weirdly enough, and I remember watching it on the news.
But the white paper was 2008 October, and so 2009, the network was running and stuff. But I don't know, it definitely could have got a mention in, late 09, 2010.
Yeah, I didn't end up getting my first Bitcoin until, April 2017, which was $1,000 Australian with GST. So it cost me about $1,200 Australian, because there's a 10% GST tax on that. I started collecting Bitcoin from then, and had my fingers in a little bit of mining, and caught hold of the whole FUD. The whole FUD of, the blockchain, if we go too big, then the mining won't be able to handle it and all that. And, but I got the fork from that, and it's funny because the guys that were buying the mining machines, Bitcoin Core got so slow that they were asking for BCH for payment. And so I spent my BCH on that, get some mining rigs, for my mining operations, and the guys ran off with my Bitcoin. So, so that stopped it. So that ended up being a scam. And I was, it was around about the time of the Bitcoin Cash conference here in Townsville, and I went to a meetup there at the Australian Hotel, and I was there with a friend of mine. And there was this candy machine there. And I kid you not, for like 10 cents, you can get candy from this Bitcoin machine, right? Bitcoin Cash machine. I actually got some Bitcoin Cash.
Is that IOZeta machine?
Sorry?
Was that the IOZeta candy dispenser?
Yes. Yeah, it's a round thing. It's a black thing. They had this machine there, set up display, and they had the unit in MBCH, Anyway, I paid for it. It was like 10 cents, and it'd be a lot more now, probably. And I bought some candy, and I said to myself at that moment, I can't even buy candy now or a can of Coke with Bitcoin Core anymore, right? With Bitcoin anymore. So that was the night that I converted from BTC to BCH. That was the very moment. And I give it to the guys that held up, that did that meetup there in the Bitcoin Cash conference. That was my genesis, my awakening, my red pill moment about what Bitcoin Cash really was. And it was from that moment on, I started understanding where I went wrong in my, and where all this propaganda got me off track. So, and I've been going strong ever since. I've been stacking stats. So that's what got me started. Then my daughter, my wife, we had a second child, so we ended up moving to Gold Coast, and I started onboarding merchants down there. And then I injured my hand. Yeah, that's when I injured my hand. I cut my finger.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, and severed my tendons. And so I decided to give up my trade and go full time into Bitcoin Cash merchant adoption. So
Love it. You love to hear it.
So January this year, I've been living full time in the Bitcoin Cash city, Townsville. So
yeah. Okay. Well, we'll definitely hit on that, and probably just to give the viewers some context. I mean, a lot of them are probably not familiar with the Australian geography, but Australia's a pretty big place, right? Roughly the size of the US, but with the lowest population density on Earth, and the majority of the population lives on the outside. There's very few people in the middle. It's all desert, right? And especially along the east coast. So that's where Melbourne is, Canberra, Sydney, Hobart in Tasmania, like all along there. And up in the north of Australia, which is quite sort of equatorial, a bit more sort of rainforesty and quite hot and humid, is Queensland. And in Queensland, on the sort of northern end of that, is this place Townsville, which I think has a population of about 250,000 or
it's about 200,000. Yeah, 250 is probably. Well, you know what? A lot of people from Melbourne are coming up to Townsville, up to North Queensland, because of the way the government's been down there. Queensland's a more freer state, so a lot of people just packed up their bags and just left. What we call the Yeah. So we've got Mexicans coming across the border. So
yeah, right. Yeah. Everybody trying to escape to freedom. I mean, I also wanted to just hit on just quickly that when you're talking about the sort of road to Damascus moment where you suddenly realize like BTC and BCH, I think that's a great story, and I think we're going to see more and more and more of that, because you do see that every so often is people posting on Twitter, even big Bitcoin people or people who are sort of tangentially related. They sort of have a moment where they put out a tweet or they say something like, guys, what are we actually doing? Have we changed anything? I mean, I know we've made all this money or whatever, but they sort of are like, I remember when I could use this, or I remember when I could transfer this or whatever. And some moment, it's different for everyone, obviously. It just hits them as like, wait, I've got this all wrong. And because of the difference between BTC and BCH, they're sort of started out quite similar, but they're diverging over time. But the part of the reason they're diverging is because the seed of the initial idea is flipped. And once you flip your assumptions on a couple of things, it has so many ramifications to how the rest of the ecosystem operates, how the community relates to each other, what they focus on, what their priorities are, how they spread the message to other people, and so on and so forth. And it's critical in the BCH community, particularly, that essentially everybody understands that we are under a disinformation attack all the time. So there's no saying that we can't end up in another situation where the same thing sort of happens and there is another split. There has been other splits. And the people, it's important that everybody individually is able to themselves reason their way to this is the real Bitcoin, so that as a community, we can all, we can't be like fudded out in any way, because it doesn't really matter what gets changed. Everybody independently is able to collectively converge on the same thing over and over and over again. And as long as we can keep doing that, then we just quickly become unstoppable. But it's very hard to get people to that point because they need to understand, firstly, that all these shenanigans that have happened in the past, and secondly, also what the actual goal and vision is, right?
Yeah, I see that nearly every day, bro. I see it every day. Like I'm out just every day. I'm out every day talking to people, and the shops love it. My dentist loves it. The guy where I got my gym membership for loves it. I was blessed to go on a helicopter ride, and this is the interesting thing, right? For a year's membership at the gym, you can get a helicopter ride in BCH. The two you can, like the guy that got the gym membership that I paid, he can literally take that BCH and go get a helicopter ride for 25 minutes. That's just
amazing.
how it is. You know, we've got shops, and the guys at the shops like Otto Prinkson, you know, a guy there's got like shops there where I go shopping and get my groceries from every week, right? He goes to the Watermark or another restaurant, and he takes his wife out and they have a good feed. So our coins are circulating. There's none of this exchanging into fiat. It's the Bitcoin that I give or someone else pays for something, it's being reused to pay for something else. So that's really great, you know, and we're trying to close the loop, you know, like for the coffee shops, we've got coffee beans, we've got taxi cabs, dentists, we've got clothes, you know, where I get my laundromat, you name it, we've got it. We've, you know, and if we haven't, I want to get where they sell plants with a nursery. I want to get a nursery on board because my wife wants some plants. And so we don't have a nursery yet, but I'm getting there. I've got $4,000 worth of furniture that I want to buy at one of our major chain furniture stores here in Australia. I'm trying to get them on board. I'm going big. I'm thinking, okay, I've done the small, medium size merchants. I want to try and see how far I can get this, you know, and it takes a little bit of legwork, but I believe that we can do it. And it just takes everyone that has Bitcoin Cash saying, do you accept Bitcoin Cash? It just starts by word of mouth, just getting out there and just saying, oh, do you accept Bitcoin Cash? One merchant that I actually got on board was actually a referral from someone else who asked a business, did they accept Bitcoin Cash? And then gave them my number. And then I went on there thinking I was just going to onboard one guy, and I end up onboarding 3 guys in one sitting. It was a hotel, ice cream shop, and a opal store where you can get your black opals and all these different really high quality jewelry store for opals. And that was just like a highlight. Is like, yeah, you know. So I took my wife up and we had like a date night, and I stayed at this hotel. We went and got ice cream the next morning, paying in Bitcoin Cash. And then I bought her some opals in Bitcoin Cash. And, you know, they just all love it up there. And that was in Mount Tambourine. Yeah, so it's just amazing what's been going on here. And adoption is not as hard as what people think. You know, like people think that you have to be an eloquent speaker, that you need to have all your facts together. And to tell you the truth, Jeremy, a lot of it's saying is it's just cash. It's just cash. Just think of it as cash. It goes in and it's confirmed straight away. And you can go to all these other places and use it, you know. Yeah, and it's understanding the business, you know, what their fears are, and if you can shut the door or ease their mind on whatever fears that they do have, they just need assurance. If you care about their business, then they're more likely to come on board, especially after COVID. After COVID, a lot of businesses shut down. And there was this cafe, and he was struggling, man. He used to be open all the time. And this is when I cut my hand. I was on the way to physio, and I just noticed that this cafe was reducing his hours from being open and reducing his hours over time. Anyway, I went up and I talked to him about it, and I did a flip starter, and I bought a whole heap of these things, and got a company that was here in Townsville to send me these seed wallet things. And I said to him, look, man, how's business? This is not good. I said, listen, how about if you accept Bitcoin Cash, I'll guarantee every transaction, whatever it comes in out. Well, I've got buyers plus myself. I'm good up to 10 grand, right? I'll buy it off you, right? We have a Bitcoin Cash meetup here. People will come, they'll spend. You've got customers through the door. And if you want to keep your Bitcoin, you can. If you don't, well, I'll buy it, or someone else will buy it back, And he ended up keeping it all. And that's how it starts. And $11 kebab went up to like $22. So, I was just starting out then. I was just starting out, and I was just, I was on compo, and I was just going, oh, what do I do? I can't work, and I just started talking, do you accept Bitcoin Cash? And just started making it a habit of trying to onboard merchants. And the best thing that one person can do is, if they get a cafe or restaurant, which is probably an easy one to do, is hold a Bitcoin Cash meetup there. A lot of people just come to your meetup because it's crypto. A lot of people are interested in the crypto, and then they get to know about Bitcoin Cash. And then all of a sudden, people are wanting to know, where can I buy Bitcoin Cash? How can I get my hands on this sort of stuff? And when they come to future meetups, they spend their Bitcoin Cash at the place where you've onboarded. So it's a win-win. It's a 360 win. So
have you
probably get it? Yeah.
I'm asking because I actually dealt with this very recently. Have you gotten to onboarded a merchant, and now my area, it's very rural. So there's really not population density, especially even when I was doing meetups, I'd get I think at most 20, 25 people, and that's with other things going on, live music and that kind of thing. But so recently I came into a situation where I onboarded a merchant, came back since the restrictions have been lifted, went to the shop, went to pay, and was like, hey, can I pay some Bitcoin Cash? Lost the seed phrase. Well, I can show you how to make a new wallet, and I can double down on the importance of saving your seed phrase. But how do you it left a bad taste in their mouth to be like, oh, I'm vulnerable to my own stupidity kind of thing. And I get that, especially if you're dealing with large amounts of money. What do you recommend for people?
This is why I always carry these. So, yeah. So not all merchants, but some merchants need a carrot. They need, you supply them a tablet. Say, look, this is an $80 tablet. I don't know what it is in American dollars, but this is an $80 a tablet in Australian dollars, right? I'm willing to leave this with you. So all you have to do is just use this as a register and goes through. And then I get them to save their seed phrase at the same time. And I say, listen, put this in a safe place. Don't lose this, because if you drop your phone in the toilet, or you lose it, or you upgrade your phone, or you want to put it on another device, this is how you get your funds. And it starts there. You gotta basically educate them from day dot. This is what it is. It's safer than a bank because you've got it in your hand. And as long as you've got this, you've got nothing to worry about. So
yeah, I think this was a case where the person had upgraded their phone and just didn't know where they put their seed phrase. And I think having a little fold out thing that's specifically marked rather than just a loose piece of paper, even if it's just psychologically, that might be, I'll look into that. Thank you. Yeah. This is a company called Ethos. Forgive my poor pronunciation. I need speech therapy, but this is one of the Bitcoin Cash blockchain developers, and they made this up, and it's really groovy. It's just got Bitcoin Cash backup wallet, it's got the seed phrase on there. It's got all the instructions on there. And some businesses that I've onboarded, they actually have other businesses. So they got a grocery shop,
then they've got a cafe, and then they've got like a woman's clothing store, and they've got all these different sub businesses all around the place. And then they've got all these different wallets that they can keep each business on there, and keeps it separate, and it's all nice and kosher and all that. And that solves a lot of heartaches. So
yeah, I'm gonna have to follow up with you on that, and we'll have to get some of that resources and links to that stuff on bitcoincashpodcast.com. I've got links to code and different stuff up there, but we should probably add a bit of a section with onboarding resources and all that kind of stuff. Would be it would be great to have. And I mean, we're gonna have to crack on with the prize in a second, but I just want to hit on one more point about what you're saying, which is just great, which is I think Bitcoin Cash has a huge opportunity, and all of crypto has this a bit, but BCH can capitalize on it, which is just to be a message of hope. It's literally for the people. And like you were saying, after the lockdowns and everything, small businesses are struggling, and Bitcoin, fundamentally Bitcoin as in the original Bitcoin, is for the people. That's what it was all about. And so that whole, Chancellor on the brink of bailout for the banks, right, and the GFC and stuff, I have recently come to the, realization that here we are 13 years later, and for a lot of the sort of, younger crowd, I mean, I'm not that old, but younger than me, they don't know about the GFC and all that stuff because they were either too young or they kind of weren't around yet. I was, I was a teenager, I guess, or just about I was a teenager. So I remember all that and what was going on in the world, and The Big Short, the movie, and all that stuff. Know about that, right? But that's kind of fading a little bit out of the consciousness, but instead we've just had another retread of it in terms of the lockdowns and stuff like that. It's just a cycle of people getting in this situation where forces beyond their control just come in from the government, from whoever, and just wreck them. And once you just rug pull people enough times, they start to get fed up, or they're in a desperate situation and they need they need something that works, first of all, that it will protect their own interests, but they also just need some hope. They need a way out of this whole situation. And I think that's definitely something that Bitcoin Cash has embedded into its message. So that's definitely something we should try and double down on, I think.
Yeah, crisis breeds necessity, man. Like what's been going on, it's actually helped Bitcoin Cash adoption for me personally. Seeing what's happening in the global climate and here locally, it's definitely helped me get a lot more businesses on board that normally would just fob you off, because they are having a paradigm shift, and they're seeing what you're actually talking about from a larger outside the box view. They're not just focusing on the now. They're actually thinking more open, because they're saying, hang on a second, these things are happening, and I need to safeguard at least a portion of my income coming in. I need to future proof my business, and so a lot of people are looking for alternatives, and Bitcoin Cash is true to its core, true to the genesis idea of being peer-to-peer cash. During the GFC, you got smart people pulling their money out of the banks and putting it into Bitcoin. That's people doing that again. And the more the government, the more these forces try to pin us down and suppress us, it's just going to cause a more of a freedom movement. It's because Bitcoin Cash is in its genesis is a noble coin. It's noble. It's when businesses thank me. Like I bought a children's book for my son. It was like $22 or something like that. The business pulled me aside when I was shopping around in the local area, and they said thank you and all that, because they made an extra $2 on the sale. The dentist, he made an extra $700 on me going to the dentist. So businesses are real. If a business is not accepting Bitcoin Cash now, I don't know what's wrong with them. Truly, like, to me, like, like when I was when I had my own business, I tried to think outside the box, and when I charged myself at 1 BCH a day. Now at that time, Bitcoin Cash was around about $300 to $80 Australian, and when it was about 280, I was telling my client, I'm 1 BCH a day. And he goes, that's cheap, because he looked at it. I said, well, buy all your Bitcoin Cash now, buy it all, whatever what you have allowed for me, buy it all. And if you got some left over, well, that's great. You keep that, but I'm 1 BCH a day. Anyway, he dilly-dallied around and it went up to $360 and it started to go up again. I said, look, and he ended up getting it around about 360 thereabouts. But he could have got it a lot cheaper. And he missed that, but he got a good price, and I did all right out of it. But that's future proof. That I was trying to be the change. I was probably ahead of my time, where I was not thinking in Australian dollars. I was thinking in Satoshis. You know what I mean? And I was doing my budgeting off Satoshis. So even now I'm still budgeting off Satoshis, how much Satoshis comes in, going out, like that, so if so I get new BCH, and if BCH is like $1,000 here and it's 1 BCH and it drops down and $1,000 buys 2 BCH, well, I'm getting it all the way down and all the way up. And so by the time it gets back up, this $500 of expenses that I paid in Bitcoin Cash, when it goes back up again, I've basically saved myself money. And that's where I think we are right now. I think the bottom's in. I think everyone's adjusting, and like I'm looking at the charts, and it's looking like that we sort of stabilizing, and I think a bull flag might be in, man. Like I'm thinking Bitcoin Cash is going to take off soon, and just being inspired by the people that are around me. I'm in my tribe. I've got people around me that are working. A lot of these guys no one knows about, because they're quietly working around, doing long hours, like 12, 14-hour days, working on code, stuff that's like, I wish I learned at school. And they working away and they're doing these massive hours to actually bring a benefit to the whole mankind, not just me, not just for them, but for everyone. And once this technology gets out, look out, man. Like, we could eat Bitcoin Core and Ethereum. We've got so much in one noble coin. It's just ridiculous, man. And I'm just really excited, and I've got to keep pulling myself back, because I get excited and I'm full of passion. I talk fast and my eyes light up, and
that's great. I love to see it, man. It's what I talked about on this show, episode 13, which I think is going to be, one of the best episodes of the podcast, ever in hindsight, where I just talked about proof of passion. It doesn't matter whether it's sports or religion or business or now cryptocurrency. People respond to passion. If you're fired up about something, then other people can sense that, and they know. And not everybody, but a lot of people will listen, not because they care at all about what you're saying, but just because they can see something special is happening here. And obviously the more and more we have of that in the community, that's one of the reasons why I am not worried if we're, lower down in the rankings, because some of these I've never met a single person that, 90% of these coins that was loving that coin. And if they were loving that coin, it was because they thought they were going to make money. If you take out that aspect of it, just so many, it's just not there. The passion is just not there. BCH has in droves. So let's just get on to the price then. Yeah, quickly, as you were mentioning that.
Sorry.
So today, no, it's good. Sometimes we go like straight through it, and sometimes we just get off on a bit of a tangent. I like that about the show. Every different guest has their different sort of topics that we hit on incidentally, and that's perfect. That's what this show is about. It's it's for the community, right? And it's just what's on people's mind. It's what they need to hear about. So today, $377. Yeah, a BCH. So I don't know what's that in Australian. Like the Australian dollar is pretty weak at the moment. Must be over $500.
Yeah, about 500, and that's been really good, because I've been saying, if you can get Bitcoin Cash under $500, you're getting it for a steal.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I was a little bit out with my bottom projection because I was thinking about 500 Australian was probably the support, but it went down to like 450 or something like that. It went down a bit, and when it went down to a point that I didn't realize it will go, like went down there, and then, okay, I ended up buying 27 BCH that day. I don't normally do that. I normally cost average. So what I did was I converted BTC that I had into BCH. And the reason why I do that is because I get less slippage using BCH, saving on fees, than just having Bitcoin Core. I've got $500 of Bitcoin Core that I can't move, man, because I've got I've got in these different wallets. And one time I had like $100 that I was trying to convert, trying to shift out of my Bitcoin Core wallet, and the fees were up so high that it wasn't worth it doing it. So I didn't do it. It ended up transaction failed. So I was sort of glad about that because I got to keep it and I wait for a time where I could do it. But people telling me about Lightning, just put it on Lightning. How can you put 40 cents of BTC into Lightning? How do you do that? Like, I'm trying to research it. It's not user friendly. It's not user friendly. I literally text people Bitcoin Cash. Boom, they've got the wallet, they've got the funds. When it goes up, like one time I text someone $1, it went up to like $1.11. I could see that they made money on the when I paid them. I go, that guy made 11 cents. I give him a call. Hey mate, how's your Bitcoin Cash going? It's going up 11 cents. That's great. And then all of a sudden that merchant's on board. It's like, it's like you can't do that with Lightning. You got the time, the window closes, you're going to open up a channel. It's just so confusing. Where Bitcoin Cash is just user friendly, a dummy like me can use it. My son, he's 5 years old. My daughter, she's 15 years old. And in my household, this is the deal. If you do a chore that daddy's supposed to do, daddy has to pay you for doing his chore because you actually did some work. So that gets them doing chores. So because I work, sometimes I work late, and if my daughter or my son likes taking out the garbage because he gets to put it down a chute and here it go cling 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 down the garbage chute. Well, he gets paid for that. I give him $5 and he loves it. He sees our Bitcoin Cash cars and he loves it. And he just he's full on into Bitcoin Cash, and I'm trying to learn about NFTs for my daughter because she's an artist. She does a lot of anime, and so we homeschool her. So this is a neat little way to take her passion and turn it into profit. Like somewhere she can make some money. She made $50 of one picture that she did for a client in Bitcoin Cash, and so she goes in, she goes and buys stuff with it, and so she loves it. My wife. My wife, I send my wife Bitcoin Cash and she goes shopping. She buys all our groceries in Bitcoin Cash, and she doesn't know anything about cryptocurrency. She doesn't know anything about blockchain and that. All she knows is she goes to this supermarket, she scans it, and it comes up. That's all she does, and she loves it. So the whole family is this. Yeah.
No, it's great. It's great. And I think it's sort of literally the peer-to-peer element of it, right? And all this stuff about Lightning Network and whatever, it's just this narrative. Like that's literally what it is. It's that online, if you are a BCH person, you're talking to a BTC person, you're sort of criticizing them a little bit or saying like, have you tried this, whatever. They'll say like Lightning and they can just type that out and hit send and think, aha, I showed them or something. And it's just not It's just not true. I saw somebody had, the greatest comment. Somebody said something like, "It's just this like magic invocation, you know. It's like the lightning spell that just like defeats this person." But to understand Lightning Network, firstly, you need to understand all the things that you need to understand with BCH anyway. How does the blockchain work? QR codes, the seed phrase, blah blah blah. Like you need to understand all. It's not like a simpler system. It's an additional system. So you got to understand all what's going on in the first place, and then you have to understand about all this other stuff. And I keep seeing things coming out of this discussion around Lightning of like, wow, look at what we just got. Like we got these fast payments, or there was recently, we got static Lightning addresses. I thought, what are you talking about? A Bitcoin address is already static, always has been. You know, you can send to the it's already designed to work beautifully. Satoshi just nailed it. Why are you reinventing?
Why reinvent the wheel?
Yeah,
like we've got taxi cabs getting around that's just got a QR code. You scan it and you pay for your taxi cab fare. They don't need internet. They just boom, go straight into the head office, whatever. They're happy that you pay because they see it go through. And you know, you can have a stall at the market. You just have your QR code there. People like what you're doing now. You got a QR code on your screen. Like I could literally tip you from here straight to you without even knowing anything about you, without opening any channels, straight through, no hassles, done. So it's user friendly, and that's what I like about Bitcoin Cash is because the simplest person can use it. That's why I think we will win.
Did you guys see there was a restaurant owner who started accepting Bitcoin Lightning payments recently? And the BTC community, I saw it was sharing it around. There's like 2 Bitcoin people that I follow on Twitter, and both of them were pretty hyped about this. But then like a day later, he's like, all right, guys, I really need some inbound liquidity. Like there's no way that I can get payments to actually go through right now. So if you guys could help me out, here's my Lightning channel. And I was like, what a hassle. Like, yeah. It's so much. Why not just Bitcoin Cash, dude? Like, why are you messing around with all of this extra channel liquidity, routing, hops? Just put the QR sticker up. You're good to go.
And it's an engineering difference as well too, which I think a lot of these people don't understand. Is if the whole point of the Bitcoin system is as you get more payments and more whatever, the complexity is the same, right? Because when the first ever transaction that Satoshi ever made to Hal Finney, he just sent it, it flooded around the network, bam, that's it. But all these channels and liquidity and stuff being balanced and things being, you know, it's not like you're not going to onboard 10,000 merchants in one day when you can't even onboard one. You need a whole bloody community support team to come in and help them and send them some money and stuff. So the more merchants you have coming into the system, the amount of support and faff you have goes up exponentially. It's not just like a flat line. And so then your growth prospects are clearly going to be, it's like if every iPhone you sold, they got, you know, slower and harder to use. You would never sell that many iPhones. You just literally couldn't do it. And so that's just what we're going to see, I think, because now we're sort of turning the corner a bit from more of the speculation bubbles into people have heard enough about crypto, and they can, like we're talking about, the businesses want to get on board and stuff. It's got what actually works kind of carries the day once it gets to that point, really.
And I honestly don't know how someone like me, if I stayed a hardcore BTC maximalist, I don't know how I will go onboarding like 2.5, 3 merchants a week on Lightning. I don't think I can do that. It's just too many. Like, businesses don't want an extra headache. They just want simple solutions to their problem. And you add complexity to it, they're going to go, oh, forget it. It's going to cost me what? You know, that's a major selling point of Bitcoin Cash is you save on merchant fees. You know, like it's boom. You like when I give these out, they go, oh, how much does it cost? It costs you nothing.
That's free.
I'm loaning you this. As long as you accept Bitcoin Cash, you have this, accept it. It's free. All you have to worry about is keeping it charged. That's it. You know, unless you have a QR code, well, then you don't need the tablet. Some of them just use their phones. You know, like I own a businessman, the guy that's there, like a tradie, tradies don't even have the register app. They just use their wallet, and they use the
Straight to me,
request amount.
Receipt,
Yeah,
yeah.
they use, and then they get paid. Bang, done. Plasterers love it, plumbers love it. We got a builder that's on it. Every trade you can build a whole house on Bitcoin Cash here. The only thing I can think of that maybe you can't pay in Bitcoin Cash is probably council.
Rates of tax or whatever, yeah.
Well, you can do that through Living Room of Satoshi. That's sort of like a payment gateway where you can put it in and they turn your Bitcoin Cash into Australian dollars or whatever it is. But maybe some sort of legal, no, you can really pretty much pay for anything. But on a peer-to-peer basis, just about everyone does it here. And for those that don't, there's ways around it, without you having a special second tier or special network. It just happens instantly, without. It's all on chain. Everything happens on chain. You don't need second layers and all this other stuff and trying to convert the world into Lightning. I mean, what is Lightning? Is Lightning another coin or what? Like I thought Bitcoin was Bitcoin. Now you're telling me Lightning?
That's it. I think that's the funniest part about it is that this whole Bitcoin maxi thing as well is like, we're against all the altcoins, but use Lightning. And it's like, well, is Lightning Bitcoin? They'll tell you Lightning is Bitcoin. You say, so why is it called Lightning then? And they say, and then it's just, that's it. It's just brain meltdown because there's no way. They say it's Bitcoin on Lightning. And you say, so can I back it up from my keys? And they say, well, not really. And like, you've got to use all these other, I said, just give me a Bitcoin address. No, it's a Lightning address. So is it Bitcoin? No. Anyway, you can go around and say it's always fun to play this game sometime. All right. So as far as traffic on the network going, like you're saying, we're up to about 55,000 transactions a day. It's just been slowly creeping up because Lightning is the ultimate shitcoin. Exactly, Omar. Correct. But the network has, like you're saying, the price has kind of bottomed out, but also sort of the network activity has just been building a nice little base, I think, of people that are regularly using the network, and once it's really that key moment of when you get over from crypto, it's something I bought and then I've just forgotten about it and I've carried on with my life, and 3 years later I'm hoping to be rich, versus actually just once in a while I buy something on purse.io, or I trade with somebody that I know, or I have a mate who's into it, so I pay him back for dinner, or those kind of small, because those start to snowball because it is easy and it does work. And I think, that's maybe starting to happen a bit in the BCH community at the moment.
It is. It's definitely rising. And with every meetup that we have, more people are getting it. And they're experimenting, they're having a bit of fun with it, and then it just becomes more of a way of life, bit by bit. They first they get a little bit and they like play around with it. I had a guy come up and visit me. Like I get people out of town from different states that drive up or fly up, to, like, one guy came from Western Australia just to see me, and another guy came from Sydney, Australia, come and see me, and both of them paid for their meals in Bitcoin Cash, and it was like Christmas to them. They like they loved it, man. They loved it. And the guy from Sydney, he used to back EOS. He was a big EOS fan. He's jumped EOS now. He's on the Bitcoin Cash wagon. So yeah, he's asking me, how do I do adoption down in Sydney? And so he rolled with me for a little bit and got to experience what I do in that, and hopefully he'll start onboarding merchants down in Sydney. So because all the Bitcoin merchants in Fortitude Valley in Brisbane and stuff like that, where I bought lunch, Can and Coke and stuff like that, those ones, they don't accept Bitcoin anymore. Brisbane Airport, you used to be able to pay for dinner or like a meal at the airport in Bitcoin. They're all gone. They're not there anymore. And so you've got virtually no Bitcoin merchants, BTC merchants, and you're getting a rise in Bitcoin Cash merchants. They're rising up. And, if they just have one transaction a month, it still does not cost them anything to accept Bitcoin Cash. It's the most risk-free way of getting into a niche market, diversifying your exposure, getting some customers, maybe tourists come in. Like, you know, if you come from the United States or from England, if you come to Australia, if you come to the Bitcoin Cash city, Townsville, you can live here and stay here 100% on Bitcoin Cash. My guarantee. I'm doing it. Taxi cabs, hotels, food, whatever you name, it's there. It's all taken care of. And yeah, I just have to get a nursery on board and maybe an archery place and maybe a gun club. And you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to think of merchants that I haven't got, you know, not just cafes, not just like shops, but like what else in there? You know, I'm trying to hit up, one of our service stations so we can get fuel in Bitcoin Cash. We've got one service station on Magnetic Island that takes Bitcoin Cash for fuel. But that's like a 45-minute barge trip to Magnetic Island from Townsville to get across there. So if you live on Maggie Island, you're great, you're sorted. But for us on the mainland, I've got my work cut out for me. So, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Great. I'll love to hear. We'll definitely do a segment at the end as well too, where I want to dig into a few more of the questions about that. But we gotta hit through the stats first. So yeah, sending USD this week. I don't really want to touch on this too much. Not much action. It's all just kind of trundling along. Crypto markets, not really going that far. And then we've got this story this week where I noticed that on Twitter, eCash, who obviously forked away from Bitcoin Cash, and they've got a couple mentions on the show recently. I think they're going to fade out, but they've become up as a little blip on the radar because they're now at the point where they're starting to fight the battles that BCH had to fight after splitting off from BTC, right? And when you split a coin like that, it's very, very traumatic, and there's a lot of misinformation, and the community's trying to reorganize and figure out what's going on and whatever. And I really wanted to highlight this because I noticed that the eCash people have now started doing these sort of edits of the white paper, which is the same thing that Bitcoin&The did, where they sort of tried to add legitimacy by changing who wrote the white paper on BSV. They put Craig Wright instead of Satoshi, or they put his email address instead of just Satoshi's original email address. Or now these eCash people are just changing the title of the white paper. And I think people. I really want to, highlight to the community that you get people every once in a while saying, we should rebrand, or we should do something different, to differentiate ourselves from Bitcoin BTC. But I think we've mostly paid the price that we have to pay, and now it's mostly upside, which is that people are going to, when you say Bitcoin, people get, okay, Bitcoin, they know Bitcoin, they've heard Bitcoin, and being willing to fight for that brand name and also to preserve the history of the original project and read the white paper, a peer-to-peer cash system. You see, Bitcoin Cash, I can just pay you. It's that simple. All of the community's dedication to that, overwhelming all of the FUD and not wanting to rebrand and stuff, I think is very, very, very critical. It's not the first thing somebody needs to know about Bitcoin Cash. They can just know, okay, it's easy and user-friendly. But as they get more and more into the community and they understand all this, the vision and the reasons that, things are the way they are, it's something that we need to hold true to, I think. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that. Is it important that we are the real Bitcoin?
Look, we just walk our own walk. We just do what we do. People, you might fool someone once, but you can't fool them twice. eCash, okay, like do they even have a consensus yet? Do they actually have like a tribunal or a government body, or is it just one guy getting all this revenue from the mining tax? I don't know, but I hate splits. I like seeing intelligent people walk away from the cause, but if I guess it's been a bit of a cleanup in a way, because it's sifting out those bad actors, or I don't want to say bad actors, but sifting out ones that are not true to the idea, and so we've sort of got a bit of a system sifting going on, and if they got a project and it works, well, that's great for them, but they are not Bitcoin. They what they call themselves, eCash, so that's what they want to be called. And I think that was eCash was like a primitive project way back where they try to do what Bitcoin Cash was doing now, but they failed because they could fudge the transactions and duplicate it and double spend and stuff like that. So I actually know this guy here in this tweet, this Kane XEC. I actually know that fella.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, he's a friend of mine. So he means well, and he's a good bloke in that. Look, it's not my fight, man. I just focus on my own backyard. I know what the people want. The adoptions are here. I don't see eCash becoming relevant.
That's right. The network effect is just a critical loss. And of course, that's the argument the Bitcoin BTC side make against BCH. Like, we've got the network effect and whatever, so you're wrecked. But as you were saying, it sort of depends on what metric you're looking at, because if your network effect is merchants who've adopted Bitcoin in the east coast of Australia, then, well, according to that metric, we're crushing them. But that's the metric people don't realize that. Exactly. Somebody who's sitting on Twitter in America and who's never spent any Bitcoin in their life, well, they might look at the coin market cap and think, haha, we've got you guys. But once you actually drill into the details a little bit, you kind of start to see more and more cracks in the narrative. So yeah, I just wanted to make a quick mention of that, because I think it's very important that the more sort of dedicated people in the community maintain this tradition of the vision and the brand. Yeah,
I think as long as we stay positive, we stay, as long as we don't need to fight everyone. I mean, like, we're living rent free in their heads. We just. I go back to my original point. If you just knew what, like, I'm just one guy in a tiny part of the world, seeing what some very dedicated people that spend a lot of time developing what we have, and seeing the vision and the progress that they are making. If people just knew how world changing, how this could change the world for the better, then they wouldn't be worried about this, and when these things come out, everyone be playing catch up. They'd be, like we had Cash Fusion and Cash Shuffle way before Bitcoin had their, what's it called? Taproot. Yeah,
but nobody even really uses that. It's not user friendly. It's not even going to work because the fees are too high. It only works for multi-sig transactions. Like, there's a number of problems there.
I just looked at it and went, who would do that? Like, unless you like rorted some poor guy for millions of dollars and you want to launder your money somehow by paying exorbitant amount of fees. How does it even work? As a business, that doesn't work. It's not feasible. This is why you got Elon Musk and Jack Dorsey, which I think, my conspiracy theory is, they are trying to profit off this. They are trying to profit off the weakness of BTC. So you will go through Square or whatever system that they have, so they can be the gatekeepers. That you use their card. I don't even have a card. That you use their Visa card, or you use their special Musk card or Jack card, to pay Bitcoin for your serve or whatever, for services, which I'm already doing with no special card or anything, peer to peer. So I think we're doing great. I really love our community. I really love the people in it. This is, Bitcoin Cash is not just a group of speculators. It's a family, and we help each other out, and sure, we might get bloody noses from having disagreements every now and again, but at the end of the day, we dust ourselves off and we shake hands and we get on with the job. We just stay positive. We keep moving forward. Don't worry about the haters. And I think they'll win if we just focus on the prize, on the goal. I think whatever whatever's out there will just fade into non-existence. So
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. Jett, were you going to get in there?
Yeah. I have a question for any eCash folks that are genuinely following and interested. And I know I've had my disagreements. I'm not trying to be malicious at all. I thought, I'm not going to get into this. But I remember one of the reasons, like the IFP is the funding proposals that the IFP has to deal with is supposed to be approved by the GNC, the Global Network Council.
yes,
They were supposed to have, I think, biannual meetings or something like that. I can't see any evidence that there's been a single meting yet. So what the
That's
hell's
what I'm
happening
talking
to that
about, Jett.
money?
That's what I'm talking about, Jett. Did they decide, oh, now that we split, we don't have to go ahead with our word? Your word is your bond. You got to keep true to your word. If you're just changing your word and oh, I said that then, but now we're not going to follow through on it, then for me as a person, I lose trust in you. I'm going, well, okay, if you're not going to stay to your word, why should I invest my time in your project or in your? I have some eCash from the split. I haven't bought any. I've just got some. I don't even know what to do with it. It's just sitting there. I don't even touch it.
Yeah,
it's just sitting there.
It's still on the website, so I would expect them to still at least have it in the back of their mind, like, hey, we want to follow through. And I understand COVID could make things difficult, but yeah, just if anyone wants to let me know what the hell the plan is there, I'm at least interested enough to keep a side eye on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it. That's really all we need to do. The BCH community is I do keep an eye on BTC, I keep an eye on eCash, and I keep an eye on BSV because just quietly I think all three of those coins are, especially BTC, but all three of them have decided, no, we're doing things the right way and screw everyone else. But they're not with it enough, in my mind, is that you can be doing what you're doing, but if somebody else comes up with a good idea, you want to do that too, right? That's the whole point of the free market of crypto competition is the EVM. Ethereum's got the EVM. Well, great, now we've got it too, killer. So that's what it's mostly about. Is you don't want to ignore. Isolation is not a virtue. You want your coin to be in the mix of all the other coins, learning and absorbing different things from them as you go along, while also obviously having your own unique selling points.
And I can relate to them on a level where developers have it hard. They do a lot of stuff for little to no recognition or even payment. It costs them their own money to do stuff, and then in a hope that it becomes accepted or it actually becomes used or it works out well. Some projects have been going on for years. How much monetary resource has gone into a project that we don't know about? They've been doing it off their own back, and so I can see that I can empathize why there is a need for better funding, and so that's what sort of gives me empathy. But yeah, they don't even have this council going, which is a bit of a shame, or a bit of a regret, I suppose, for them. But I'm hoping that, as the community, the Bitcoin Cash community, will continue to support those who work hard to make our lives easier.
Yeah, and I think we've seen a lot of good work with flip starters. Has been, I mean, there's criticism the other way that there's also been flip starters which haven't necessarily worked out, or the money's got lost here or there, whatever. There's not necessarily like 100% track record, but on the other hand, over time, hopefully the good projects will rise to the top, and also there is those capabilities for things to be funded in decentralized, community-centric ways, right? Which is really great to see. Okay, so speaking of Elon Musk, then you were just kind of hitting on him. I wanted to bring him up as well because this was I've got the BCH podcast Telegram group. So this is the people who are very on the ball. They know what's going on. This is the expert council, and some in the universe who I think has since changed his name, but he posts a lot in the, I assume it's a he, could be a she, posts in the Telegram a bunch, and has a lot of good takes. But put up a poll saying, "Does Elon Musk own any BCH?" And it came out to a 20 to 21 victory for no. So 49% went with yes, and 51% went with no. So clearly within the BCH community, it's very finely split as to we can't take a wisdom of the crowds approach here to get an answer, because people don't know. So Elon has obviously publicly discussed holding BTC, Ethereum, and Doge, but he's never, I think, said the actual words Bitcoin Cash, despite sort of acknowledging some comments from Kim.com on Twitter about it. And he has talked about big blocks. He has been hating on Lightning Network and whatever. So I voted no personally, because I think he would be honest. If he had bought some, he would mention it, or he would say it. But obviously there will be a lag where he buys up a bit and then, 2 months later he says, I've got some. And I don't think we're in that window quite yet. So that was my argument for voting no. But Jett has voted yes. So I want to hear what Jett's take is, and then we'll get your take. You can be the deciding vote.
So I'm not gonna lie, it's not like I put a hell of a lot of thought into a poll on Telegram. That being said, I think, given the impression that I get from him talking about big blocks and the issues that some of these other chains have, I think even if it's a nickel worth, or a dime worth, and it's weird to use those words for coins now, but I think he's at least fiddled around with it and has a couple Satoshis hanging around. And I think knowing the direction that Jack has pivoted in, and Elon's, like, it was weird to me to see Jack put out a tweet that's like, I recognize that I'm responsible for some of the issues of social media, and then the next day Elon buying the largest single shareholder position of Twitter. So I think there's like almost a new, maybe I'm just being too tech bro, but I think there's almost a new wave of like cyber libertarianism. And I think that Bitcoin Cash is the most well positioned for that. And I think people like Jack and Elon will have to at some point bring more of their focus to Bitcoin Cash. I think both of them have a little bit of it just to have experienced it.
Jason, what do you think?
Why, are you talking 1 BCH, or are you talking about a few hundred? Like, maybe
I think this was part of the question, right? Is that it's technically the poll is, does Elon Musk own any BCH? But I sort of took that to mean he has ideologically, because you don't really, like, let's say I give you something, but it's sitting in your house, but you've forgotten about it. Like, that's, mentally speaking, from your point of view, do you own that? Well, not really, because you don't really care. If it vanished, you wouldn't notice. That was sort of the flavor I took of it, rather than thinking, okay, maybe somebody had sent him 10 cents and he thought, cool. But has he like emotionally invested himself into buying some and getting on board with the vision and the project? I don't think so. But yeah, it's up to you. How do you determine interpret the question?
I'm going to say no. And the reason is because if I'm Elon, I can see how I can make money with Bitcoin. With all the problems that it has, providing a solution. He's a businessman. He's an entrepreneur. I would think that he would be more of a hero if he came up with a great solution for BTC, because he said he had more Bitcoin than even Doge. He holds more Bitcoin. So, he's pumped Doge. And Ether. He spoke on a minor level, but he's. If it wasn't for Kim, I'm hoping guys like Kim could probably knock some sense into him and bring him around. If there's a sense of nobility where he wants to make the world a better place, Bitcoin Cash would be the way to go. And I'm sure, Elon, if you're listening to this podcast, man, you can do a lot of great work on Bitcoin Cash. And anything that you're doing on Ethereum, you can basically do it on Smart BCH. So, mate, just jump ship. Don't worry about BTC. Cut your corners. Link up with Kim.com and release a great new platform.
I have a pitch. if Elon is watching this, why not have your smart charge stations accept cryptocurrency? And of course, I would say Bitcoin Cash is
Bitcoin
fantastic
Cash.
for that. But this is perfect for micropayments, and you can
Perfect.
activate it based off of the payment threshold. So you say you want half an hour charge, well, that cost X amount of satoshis. Like
Yeah.
it's not even like it would be hard to program into the already existing thing. I imagine it has network connectivity like every other Tesla thing. So
hmm That's a great idea, Jett. You're a genius. You know, we're trying to do that with our parking stations in Townsville to get our council to have our parking meters accept Bitcoin Cash. You know, our laundry mats do. Why not the parking meters? You know, and that's a real life, real example of on a solution. You know, and we're talking about recycling. You know, in Australia, you get 10 cents for recycling this. What's stopping someone from coming up with a technology when you put this in a bin, you know, 10 cents worth of Bitcoin Cash gets deposited into your wallet? What's stopping that from happening? Nothing. It's guys like Elon Musk not thinking about something that's already just begging to be done. You know, that's $1 million idea just then, you know.
That honestly is, for people who don't know, in Australia, and I haven't seen this really anywhere else in the world, but in Australia, if you buy a can of Coke or a lemonade or something like that, you
Same in
tend to
Canada.
have same in Canada, then you have it will say on the can 5 cents when returned to a depot in South Australia is usually what it says, or 10 cents. And the idea is that people either find them by, I don't know, picking them up off the street, or even they just have a box or whatever in the corner of their room. Here we go. Jett's going to demonstrate for us.
No, it just says you can't really read it, but it says return for refund where applicable, and it's anywhere from 5 cents to 10 cents.
Yeah, and it's just if you collect up all your bottles, your plastic bottles or your aluminium cans, and then you take them into wherever it is, then if you have a few thousand cans because you've been having everybody drinking different drinks at your house over the last 3 years, well then bam, there's $500 or whatever that you made back just by slowly accumulating. And it's true, that would be a perfect use case for, just because it could be little decentralized machines. You wouldn't even have to go to the actual like depot and mess around with 1,000 cans at one time. You could just do it with, I've got 3 from yesterday, let me just throw those out. Ka-ching, I'm in. And the machine can even take a small cut or whatever, and nobody would care less.
They could, you know, charge 1 cent. You know, you get lots, you know, how much rubbish is thrown out every day. If they charge 1 cent for redeeming, you know, and you get 9 cents, well, that's still great. You know, maybe they say, you know, bugger it, we'll just we'll make it 11 cents. So 10 cents goes to the person recycling, and 1 cent goes to the upkeep and the running of the bin, the special bin that scans the QR code and puts the satoshis into someone's wallet. I'm going to tell you now, there's going to be a lot of kids, a lot of children, a lot of even adults, maybe a lot of poor people, a lot of homeless people getting around with their phones and collecting cans and bottles and picking up the litter and putting them in the bins to get paid. You know, Japanese level cleanness, you know, like Japan level. You know, everyone's clean, your streets are clean, everything's great. And Elon talks about the environment, you know, what a better way, you know. Bitcoin Cash is way greener than BTC, way greener. You can force more transactions through it. You can do so much more, fraction of the cost, fraction of the power. To me, if I was Elon, I would be on the Bitcoin Cash bandwagon. So I'm hoping King.com or someone that's able to get into his social circle to bring him around. But other than that, the pessimistic side of me thinking, well, Elon, you know, if I want to make money, I'll spend money on a project where I can have everyone funneled through my system, you know, like PayPal or something, you know, like what he done there, you know. So
well, that's just this angle that I think is really interesting, because the part of the reason I also put this in the slides this week was that there was this news that Jett sort of mentioned where a couple of days ago, Elon has bought a 9.2% stake in Twitter. So he's now the biggest shareholder, more than 4 times Jack Dorsey, the founder. So I imagine in the board meetings, he's now instantly a pretty massive hitter if he says, look, guys, we want to do a bit more of this, a bit more of that. And this came about from these sort of comments he was making about getting people to vote. Is Twitter allowing enough free speech? And basically people said no. And Elon even said, take this seriously because there might be ramifications. It seems like this is what the ramifications are. Now he's grabbed up a chunk. And there is certainly an element to Elon Musk. Well, there's 2 important elements. One is that he's a bit maverick. He can do something that's just a bit outside the usual because he just doesn't answer to anyone. And if he just gets on a bit of a tangent, he can just say, right, we're making this happen. And then bam, it's happening. Not many other people, not many other Twitter users, even ones who were rich enough or famous enough, probably wouldn't be making these kind of moves. And then the second element is he is also, to a certain extent, kind of idealistic. Of course, there's a lot of public debate about, some people think it's all a bit of a front, and some people think, yeah, he truly is trying to sort of fix humanity. And so to me, this Twitter example is kind of a case of he's just like, look, I just am rich enough that I can actually sort of fix Twitter. And obviously he himself also likes Twitter. He's a user as well as an investor now. So that's part of the reason he might see it as a problem, or he might want to fix it. But I just definitely feel if he really did get the message and the vision of crypto, which it's hard to believe that he hasn't with the amount that he's been involved. But if he did get it, it would seems to me the obvious thing is just he could accelerate humanity and all that stuff that he's all about. He could explode global economic growth and therefore get to the moon or get to Mars a bunch faster if he just putting out a couple of tweets of Bitcoin Cash gave that the little push it needed to ramp up in adoption, and then bam, we'd be flying. But either that option hasn't occurred to him, which is kind of hard to imagine, or he doesn't really want to for some reason.
I think you're right. I think he has a certain personality of being a maverick, but he's towing certain lines because he's a businessman. He's towing certain lines because he's confined himself. Maybe he's a bit of like a Joe Rogan, where there's a lot that he can say, but it's fear of being, censored or being restricted or in some way, business speaking, that maybe he reframes himself a bit. He gives a lot of hints where he would like to go, and then he keeps going down this path of sort of neutrality sort of thing. So I don't know. I really hope that you guys are right, that or in Jett, that he's one of us or something like that. I really want to hope the best for him, but just on the conservative side, I'm not putting my eggs in that basket. I'm just gonna go no.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess we'll wait and see. At the end of the day, it really, I think, will probably be an after effect rather than a cause. You can't sit around and just beg Elon to pump BCH, because it'll be probably the opposite. It'll be the exact moment when BCH is starting to fly, and there's no need for Elon. It's going to take over anyway. That's when he'll come out and be involved. People have this, sorry, Jett. People have this mentality that we need a spokesman, we need a savior, we need a lead person, we need a leader. No, we've got the Bitcoin Cash zeitgeist. We've got the ether, the spirit of Satoshi just pushing us forward. We're all in the same realm of thinking, going forward. We don't, although having lead people and people that can help are great, we should not be idolizing people to push our coin forward. You know what I mean? Doge would be nothing without Elon. It was a joke coin. It was a fork of Litecoin. It's not even designed well to be profitable, so yeah. Sorry, Jett.
No worries at all. I just wanted to note, I don't know why it smacked me in the face. I find it so funny, the mentality that a person would have to be like, Bitcoin Cash is a scam, especially considering the conversation of all these different places you can spend it. Like, what other scam has so much utility? Like, the best I can think of is maybe those MLL Tupperware kind of businesses. But aside from that, and even then, who doesn't have Tupperware in their house?
Are you
What?
saying you want to buy some Tupperware? Jett?
Do not bash Tupperware, man. Do not bash it, because there's lifetime warranty on those things. There's lifetime warranty. And when Bitcoin Jason put the Tupperware in the microwave and overcooked his dinner and fried the lid, and it was all buckled and stuff like that, where he couldn't put it back on, I got a free lid back. So don't you be like a Tupperware.
I'm not knocking it at all. I'm actually saying, like, if Bitcoin Cash, even if it has this idea in people's mind, like, oh, it's a scam, like, much like people think of those MLM Tupperware style businesses, like, everyone still uses Tupperware because it's valuable. So it's so, I don't know. I wouldn't, like, that's the only parallel I can see in, like, the mindset of this is a scam. And even then, it's like
just disinformation. It's just a disinformation attack that goes back to the original fork. Bcash, it's a scam. They're trying to steal the brand name. It's not the real thing. Blah 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 blah. And those things just echo around in the consciousness of so many low information people, basically, who they don't know anything about crypto, and all they know is they know a guy who knows a guy who is into Bitcoin, who said
who
Bitcoin
made money 3 years ago,
and it came through, the grapevine that this is kind of some shitty knockoff, and they've never looked into it. They don't even have a strong opinion, but just that's what they heard and good enough kind of thing, right? So that's where the network effect of the community on the ground is. It's much harder to fud someone off if they're talking face to face with you, because you can explain if they have any questions, and you're obviously a genuine person. You can show them a transaction. You can do all these steps that just cuts straight away through just layers and layers of bullshit that happens online, which is why it's pretty important, I think, for the Bitcoin Cash community that we're proactive in person. I mean, online, obviously that's good, and you can reach more of people, but a grassroots movement comes from face-to-face conversations, I think.
Jeremy and Jett, what actually happened to us here is I was approaching this business about accepting Bitcoin Cash. It was a place that's opening up. They're redesigning and that, and they opening up, and it's going to be a fantastic place to have pizza and beer, whatever, like a great place, right? Good hangout spot on a Friday night. Anyway, I approached this guy and he's saying no and all this sort of stuff. Anyway, he was out going to dinner, right? And someone, not me, someone else was paying for their meal at the same restaurant in Bitcoin Cash, right? I later went and I got caught up with him, and he said he's going to accept Bitcoin Cash because he saw someone using it. He saw someone using it, and he was like, wow, this person used it here. I might as well do it too, So the proof is in the pudding. I mean, like, is someone going to bash me because I have Velcro laces instead of shoelaces or something like that? Like, come on, like, it works. There's nothing wrong with it, and people use it. And when people see someone paying in Bitcoin Cash, they go, wow, that's interesting, and their mind starts getting interested, and then they start learning more about it. And this merchant, I didn't onboard that merchant. What got that merchant on board was someone paying for their meal in Bitcoin Cash. That what got him on board. I approached him. I planted a seed, but when he saw someone actually using it, that was the close. That was the closing thing. Go, you know what? I'm going to do it too. And now I'm just going to wait until he finishes renovations, and then that's another video for the Bitcoin Cash City to go up on Reddit and stuff like that. So it's great.
Yeah, so let's move on. Let's chat a bit about the Bitcoin Cash City then. I mean, obviously we have already mentioned it quite a lot, but I had it here on the slides. So it's Townsville in Australia. There's literally hundreds of BCH merchants and a pretty solid peer-to-peer self-sustaining economy. The reason I found out about it initially was that I I was out of Bitcoin between about 2017 and late 2020-ish when the price started going back up. So I thought, oh, let me just look into all this stuff again. And I looked on RBDC and I found, okay, what's going on here? Bitcoin Cash is still kicking along. And I somehow got onto one of these videos. I think it was probably from one of Hayden Otto's videos, actually, of the Bitcoin Cash City Conference, which has only happened once, to my knowledge, because it was in 2019, and then in 2020 and 2021, the lockdowns and restrictions in Australia meant that it couldn't happen, right? But there was just this event where all these people rocked up to Townsville and found, like, holy crap, we've got a whole city where you actually can use it, and it's a self-sustaining economy and all that. And all these really great, there's a lot of really great talks. You can actually find them on YouTube, and I recommend to anybody the talk by Amaury Sachet, who was, we were ragging on eCash a bit before, but he was in the BCH devs, and now he's off with eCash. But he gave this fantastic talk where he explained a few concepts that I had never heard about, I didn't know about, which was about how the fork worked out and how the BTC side, even though they were sort of the wrong, in quotation marks, side of the fork, they won just because they were more adamant, and they said, okay, we're going all in on this and screw you guys. If you want to fork off, like, do it. And the BCH side was sort of trying to negotiate and find, well, what about 20 megabytes? What about 8 megabytes? What about 2 megabytes? And because if the one side is just basically irrationally uncompromising, they can sort of overrule the other side, who is a bit more like flexible and everything. But the point of this is that once it's sort of the same in situation with adopting the merchants. If there's lots of people already using it and adopting it and whatever, then there is no random argument or other trickery you can do to change somebody's mind when they can see it happening and working right in front of them, right? And so what I wanted to ask you about was how, to your knowledge, I guess, how did this all start, and how can we replicate that somewhere else? Like, for instance, you were talking about the Gold Coast. So there's some of that happening in the Gold Coast. Is it going to spread sort of virally from one to another? And this is also where people need to remember the geography of Australia, that Townsville and the Gold Coast are a freaking long way apart. In European drive. Yeah, in European terms, it's like huge. So it's like several countries away, even though in Australia that's still close. Those two places are close by Australian measuring, but by the rest of the world, that's an eternity away. And so that's maybe impacting the ability for it to kind of virally spread among the population, right? Yeah.
So I basically carrying on the work of what someone else's have done. Like, there's like a lot of these people at the Bitcoin Cash conference, they are developers of the Bitcoin Cash blockchain. They're working on making Bitcoin Cash better, with making it all harmonious and stuff like that. So they get a lot of their income in Bitcoin Cash, and they have it. They have a lot of it. And so they are very passionate that they just want to use Bitcoin Cash. So, people like me, they love people like me because I'm able to do while they're doing the work in the office, they've got enthusiastic guys like myself going out there and just spreading the word, And so a few of these merchants were already on board, and COVID happened, and it knocked a lot of them out, probably about 45 merchants had to take off the maps because they were closed down, sold their business, or just no longer operating. So the best experience that I can give you is what happened in Gold Coast is I just started with one merchant, and that was the easiest one. The easiest one to do was, say, a cafe that was maybe they need a bit more business. And I just made them an offer that they couldn't refuse. I said, look, I'll bring more customers in. Because I would like to have a meetup here. Can I have a meetup here? Great. Now at this meetup, everyone uses Bitcoin Cash. So I'm willing to supply a tablet and that, so people can pay for their meals. And you go through that. You got to know their business. You talk with them. Sometimes it might take a few weeks or even months, but you get that happen. You get your first merchant there, which is a cafe or somewhere cool to hang out. You have meetups there, and then more people start getting interested in it, and then you just go from next merchant, and so you have a few merchants. So you get those merchants on board. By us having meetups, we do a few things. We bring more customers through their door, so there's more traffic, right? It's free advertising for them. So we also do videos for them. So I blog about them. I have some great people. I've got Felicity and DigiWriter. He's a film guy. He's one of our Bitcoin Cash merchants, and Felicity, she's a photographer. And what we do, we make a special promo video for free, you know, and then we like blog about our night there and the meetup. So it gets some free advertisement. We bring more customers through their door. And whatever concerns that they might have, they go, what about volatility? We go, no worries. There's a lot of people coming to this meetup that will want to buy your Bitcoin Cash off you, right? And that's an easy way. Most 9 times out of 10, they end up keeping the Bitcoin Cash without even worrying about it. They said, look, I'm happy. That's great. I've got, don't worry about it. The ones that do want to cash out are probably the ones that are really scared. You know, they're living week to week, and they just need that money. So if you can get a few people on board that are willing to buy that Bitcoin Cash of them, like underwrite them, that settles all fear, right? Then it's just a matter of just going business to business. And then in what I do is whatever I do in my daily life, grocery shoppings, getting my wife a dress, my clothes, man, bought with Bitcoin Cash.
Looking
the
slick
hat that
for
I wear.
the audio listeners. Jason's got a very nice dapper gray jacket on. You know, could be on a night on the town. Could be rocking that, and I got Bitcoin Cash City Conference hat as well. Yeah,
no, this I didn't pay for. Yeah, this was given to me. But my Oakley shirts, my Globe shoes, my Globe socks, my Globe pants, they all been bought with Bitcoin Cash at a surf store. You know what I mean? Like a surf store. I'm going to buy an electric scooter in Bitcoin Cash, right? So everything that I've got is Bitcoin Cash. Whatever I can get, I do. And if I can't get it, I try very hard to get that on board and just go from there. And so what you're doing with these meetups, so the main argument that I see on Reddit and stuff like that is, okay, it's great having all these merchants, but who's actually shopping there besides you? Well, that's the point of having these meetups, man. You have these meetups, people get more interested in it, people try it. Like my first thing that I bought with Bitcoin Cash was basically Bitcoin Cash M&Ms. That's all they were, just fancy candy that was in a thing. I paid like 10 cents for it, and I'm going, this is fun. This is cool. You know,
it's fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it's something fun. And so when people come to a Bitcoin Cash meetup, you know, even if maybe just a crypto meetup, when they come in, if there's a point of sale that's accepting Bitcoin Cash, well, guess what? More and more people are going to keep coming to those meetups. They're going to bring their friends, and they're going to pay in Bitcoin Cash. And that's how you get more and more people buying the Bitcoin Cash. That's how you get more traffic. And then then it's just a process of going around, you know. So look after your merchants, help spread both retail investment adoption and merchant adoption. They go hand in hand. So our merchant adoption, we're going about 2.5 merchants per week. That's what we're averaging at. I think this year so far we did like 45. You know, I'll just check my notes. Yeah, 45. In the month of April, in 5 days, we've onboarded 8 merchants in 5 days.
That's amazing.
In Townsville. Yeah.
That's amazing. It seems like it could be hitting, you know, like in St. Kitts, they've been doing this too. And there's sort of a critical tipping point that you hit where the BCH sort of signs and stickers and whatever are everywhere. And like you said, more and more people are seeing somebody else pay with Bitcoin Cash, because if you see that as a third person, then you're seeing something really special happening, which is the merchant has agreed to it, the customer has agreed to it, and they've now linked, they've formed a connection, and you're watching all of that from the outside. For the merchant or the initial person, or even you yourself, firstly, you've already got like already have half of the buy-in. But if you're a third person and you're watching this happen between two other people, that sort of even just subtly communicates all the messages about it being a voluntary economy, about peer-to-peer, all those things are just silently wrapped up in seeing a transaction like that happen.
And you get merchants going to other merchants spending the Bitcoin Cash as well. It's just circling around. I've got to be careful. I know a certain individual that has shops, right? And he underwrites himself. He underwrites his own Bitcoin, right? So he goes and takes his wife out and he has business dinners, right, at a very high class restaurant that we've got on board. And they're one of the raiders, because I'm on good terms with them. I go there early in the morning and have coffee and stuff like that. He goes, Bitcoin Jason, we had your mate over the other night. He spent $500 on dinner on Bitcoin Cash.
I bet they're loving it. Yeah. Businesses thrive on customers or on revenue, turnover, cash flow. That's what it's called, cash flow. It's the cash flow, Bitcoin cash flow.
So the way I see it is people in Townsville are hedging against, God forbid, a currency collapse. Just so that I saw some news from CNN saying that the American dollar was in danger of losing its position as in purchasing power and stuff like that, being the dominant currency. And you see that, just like Bitcoin Core is losing its dominance with the altcoins, that's happening with the American dollar. And a lot of American dollars has been shifted into, every time there was a stimulus came out, the Bitcoin price and all the alts went up because people are taking their helicopter money and they parking it into real assets, that they can use at a later date, and having only 21 million coins, it's rare. It's rarer than gold. Gold you can mine more of. Bitcoin Cash is only 21 million. We've already mined 19. There's only 2 million left. So the more you'd be silly not to get it now because adoption is rapidly rising. And so I believe that we are going back to the days when people should have said, oh man, I wish I got Bitcoin Core at like 300, what's it now? $377 US. This 300 Bitcoin Core used to be $377.54. It used to be that, but it's not now. It's up higher, right? But what I'm saying is Bitcoin Cash has the ability easy to get up to where Bitcoin Core is and higher, because anything that you can do on Ethereum, you can do it now with smart BCH. The technology's there and smart people coming in and building on it. It's just a matter of time before people start jumping ship, and people are maintaining their purchasing power through not losing value through fee slippage. That's what I call it, fee slippage, by using Bitcoin Cash. During the lockdown, I converted BTC into BCH to live off. And I've saved myself a ton of fees by just doing that. I paid the one fee to convert it to BCH, and then I'm just like, just spending it.
I've mentioned I have a miner friend locally, and when he first started withdrawing those coins into self-custody, he was withdrawing BTC, and I was like, he just wasn't aware, and I was like, hey, you should try, Bitcoin Cash out. It's the same thing, but rather than paying $3 every time you want to move money, it's less than a penny. And he cussed at me. He's like, why the hell didn't you tell me this sooner? I've been spending so much money trying to move just to have my own money. And so now anytime he goes to offload coins, like, I'm the first person he messages, and we always do it in Bitcoin Cash.
That's one of the things I think is really interesting, part of the fact that Bitcoin Cash has had this history of being, censored and attacked and derided and so on and so forth. But even all that aside, one thing is the low fees is just like a constant message You know, it's a decentralized message to the world. Like, this is more efficient, and people figure that out. Even if it is just, I mean, people say like to defeat a greater network effect, you need to be magnitudes better. You can't just be twice as good if somebody else is 10 times as big. That's not going to cut it. You need to be 10 times better, or ideally you need to be 100 or 1,000 times better. Well, in a lot of cases, BCH already is 100x better. The difference between under a cent and $1, that's 100x right there. And then once you add in the pain and hassle of it being variable and it fluctuating, that annoys people. Sometimes it goes higher, sometimes it goes to $10. Well, now you're 1,000x better. And that's just this subtle, it's like water dripping on a mountain is how I think of it. It's just slowly eroding away, because once somebody realizes that, there's no unwinding that understanding.
Mm. And a lot of this hodl mentality comes from the Bitcoin core communities, because it's so hard to move. It's expensive to move. And so someone like me that regularly gets fresh BCH and lives off it, the price fluctuations don't really do anything. I don't even hardly notice it. You know, I don't notice. The only time I notice it is if I buy something from a merchant and I see they made money out of it. Or sometimes they make, it might go down for a season for a little bit, but it goes back up again. And I really believe that, coming out of that fork. So once we get into, when you got a 5-year chart, right? And once we get out of that 5-year chart from TradingView or whatever it is, Bitcoin Cash is going to look really, really appealing. It's going to look so appealing, because they go from there and go, wow, it's just cruising on up. It's cruising on. And yeah, there's this big spike, but on average, it's just cruising on up. And before long, once we get from that original sell-off, the all-time high. I mean, Bitcoin Cash, that's the only negative that I see with the charts, is that Bitcoin Cash came off a fork there, and everyone, including myself, dumped their BCH, right? And then it settled down, and then it started going off again. But we found our resting place. We were building. The community is rising. So for every new merchant that comes on board, for every time that you share Bitcoin Cash and someone decides they're going to start buying it now and experimenting, it's lifting all ships. It's lifting all boats. I love noise.cash. There's poor people in Uganda and Venezuela and stuff like that. And I'll talk about Uganda. For $2 US, you can feed a whole family, right? Now, I know some people that get like $2 worth of tips on noise. That feeds their family. That's a difference between starvation. That's a difference between starvation. You cannot do that with I don't know any other. You can't do it with Doge. You can't do it with BTC. You can't do it with Ethereum. You can't do it with Neo. You can't do it with, I know no other coin that I can like someone's post and know that that's going to feed someone. No other way. I can literally send Jeremy and Jett 1 cent through a text message or through a shareable link to their Instagram page or their Facebook profile or a DM or something like that, and know that they'll get 1 cent. I mean,
that's pretty incredible. It is pretty incredible, that humanitarian aspect to the whole vision. I just want to quickly check with you and with Jett. Are we on a timer here? We're going to be coming up to 2 hours. I mean, I can go as long as you guys can go, but I don't know. Jett might have to bounce it a bit.
I'm good for another. Well, I could go for another hour at least.
Okay, all right. Jason, you got any? I'm just trying to keep us on pace.
No,
got any time constraint?
No, I'm your guest. Guest, and I'm just chilling I'm just having a glass of Coke with 2 of my friends here, just chilling. We're talking about Bitcoin Cash. So
love it. Okay, all right, good. Well, because the episodes they do vary. Sometimes it's 90 minutes, and I think the longest one we've had was nearly sort of 3 hours, but it just depends day to day, and we're just taking our time as we meander through this. So that's good. All right, so on this on the next slide, then I've got some stuff about a return to the Bitcoin grassroots, and we've already been talking about this. in a roundabout way. But I thought about this because I was watching some of your stream the other day and chatting to you, and you were telling me about linking up with Naomi Brockwell, who's another big crypto. She's one of the biggest crypto content creators, but she's the biggest sort of authentic crypto creator, in the sense that there are bigger ones like Michael Saylor or Pompliano or Samson Mao that we talked about last week. She is the biggest one that will tell you like all the cypherpunk stuff about privacy and about spending your cryptocurrency and about, she's interviewed Edward Snowden, and all that sort of stuff, because she actually has that genuine credibility of the vision and the scene, right? And so you were linking up with her, and then also Chadwick Bailey, who's another BCH content creator. He's recently started doing some more live streams and stuff, which is a bit of a difficult time zone for me, but I've checked in on a couple of them. Obviously, now we've got this show and we're here chatting, and I think this is the key point, is that it's people are getting the idea in this world. We sort of went from this world without as much internet connectivity and whatever, where people were very plugged into their local communities because the rest of the world was on a delay, right? You got the newspaper news or whatever 24 hours later, and that was all happening far off somewhere else. And then we had the internet, and things became this big sort of like one world type of system where everybody's instantly what's going on everywhere in the world, feeling like we're all a part of it. But I think now things are starting to trend back the other way, where now that a lot of that stuff is censored, or it is algorithmically manipulated, or you don't know if you can trust it, or maybe it's not relevant to what's happening to you locally, people are starting to come back to thinking about peer-to-peer, about person-to-person, who is somebody real that I can trust. And that's sort of like you were mentioning with Joe Rogan, the point being that Joe Rogan is not always right, but on the other hand, you know that Joe Rogan's just a guy and he thinks whatever he thinks, he's got his opinions, but if he's wrong, that's just his opinion. And it reminds me of, I think they did these studies definitely in Australia, but maybe they've done it in other countries too, where the person who was most likely to win a general Australian election to be the prime minister would be the one who, of the two, candidates that people could most easily imagine themselves sitting there having a beer with. Like, that is a massive predictor of success in political elections. And so we're starting to kind of see a return to that in the world at large. And also, I think in the Bitcoin Cash specifically, because it has to be such a grassroots person-to-person type of thing. So I'm curious as to your thoughts on that too.
No, I think you're 100% right. I met the rich people and I met the poor people, and we all share the same vision. And so the thing that I connect with is basically the family aspect of Bitcoin Cash. We've just got this essence about us that links us together. We really want the best. We fed income. We really want the best for people. I like Naomi. She does a great job. She's a far better podcaster than I am, and she's really thorough. And we all have our little niches. We're all part of this body called Bitcoin Cash. And, we've got some people that are extreme, and we might have narcissistic people there. And we might have, a redneck from Townsville, Australia. And, we might have all these different people, different time zones, but we all come together. There's one guy I've been following, OG Foundation, Nam.
Sovereign Nun. I've had him on the Sovereign Nun. I've had him on the show as well too. Yeah.
Look, man, I totally respect that guy. Yeah, I totally respect him. I would love to hang out and build a barn house with him or community with him. He's on my level. He's someone I could sit down, like you said, and have a chat with. And I met very wealthy people that are really, really humble. And really intelligent people that know lots about coding and stuff like that. Really humble type people, and I get along well with them. And so I think we're getting a resurgence on what really matters, and it's basically it's basically like live and let live type thing. no flies on me. Like, don't tread on me type stuff. It's just like, I want control over my own money. I want to, peer-to-peer connections. When we have these meetups, when we do these merchants, I'm building a community. I'm getting merchants connected with other merchants and customers with merchants and stuff like that. So we have this network of not just a blockchain, but we have a network of people that are basically exchanging their energy and helping someone out. I exchange my energy, tipping you out on the podcast, or I exchange my energy to buy a meal, that I worked out and someone pays me. It's just this cycle that goes on. And it's not this thing where you've got this vulture, the machine goes brewer and they get the bulk of the money, and then they get the core value. And then by the time it gets to you, you're going, well, I'm being taxed through inflation, and my dollar's been debased and all this stuff. And, they want to talk about crypto being a scam. How many scams have been done on the US dollar? And look, I really like Naomi and stuff like that. And Chad, he gets on a weird night. And so I listen to him as I work. I might be driving around and he has this really cool music, and I'll listen to him, and, I might chat to him when I've got time. But, guys like yourself, who doesn't want to be connected with you guys? Who doesn't want to be connected with Naomi and Chad and maybe Bitcoin Jason and all these different merchants that have the same sort of ideals, the same of, I just want the best for you, so yeah.
I think that's something, as like you're saying about a rising tide lifts all boats. I think that is going to maybe increasingly, I'm sure it's already there a little bit, but I think it's increasingly going to kick in, which is that the magic of Bitcoin, especially Bitcoin Cash, is that we are all fighting on the same team, but you don't need explicit communication, right? I don't need to even know that you exist, or that there's somebody in China probably doesn't speak any English at all who's a fan of Bitcoin Cash, and they're maybe spreading some adoption, or they're trading with their mates peer-to-peer, or whatever they're doing. Whatever they're doing is benefiting you, and whatever you're doing is benefiting them. And so you're fighting on the same team just by collaborating based on the network, right? The network is just running, and everybody just plugs into the network in their own different way. And in doing that, you put energy into the network, and that helps that sort of spreads around to everyone. And then that it also spreads around back to you. And that obviously the price is the sort of one very tangible indicator of that, where as the community starts cooperating and doing well and the price rises, everybody is getting richer because of all the energy everyone's putting out individually. And so it's easy to feel a bit isolated or whatever. I'm sure there's listeners to this show. I have the map on maybe I'll publish a picture of it or something, but I've got a map of my audio downloads, and it's like spread around. It's everywhere in the world. Like there's a lot of it in America and a lot of it in Europe, and also actually quite a good amount now in Australia. But there's just random little spots in Africa and, South America and India and different places where there's just one tiny little light of like one person who started listening to this podcast, And so it might be easy to feel like, we're just on our own or whatever. But like you're saying, it's more about a family or a community of shared values, because anybody that will trade with you in BCH is going to have, to some extent, that mentality that, you're living your life and I'm living my life, and we only need to agree in as much as we can voluntarily agree to do a deal over this one kind of thing, right? So it made me think, when you were saying before, just quickly as well, the fact that you're talking about real people connecting. In some ways, that's the opposite of a lot of the other cryptocurrencies. Like in Ethereum, they have the crypto punks and all these avatars and different stuff that is sort of hiding who you are, or you can be some metaverse, like whatever. But BCH is about the real world. It's about real people. And when people see those peer-to-peer transactions happening in person, that's kind of the connection that we're looking for, I think.
Yeah, and a lot of and people band together when adversity hits. The things that have happened over the last couple of years has really shook up people's. What am I doing with my life? What do I value? We all got friends that used to be our friends, but friends no longer. And so we sort of it's this thing sort of gave us a different perspective of what's actually real. What do we actually value in life? What's important, and, fighting along these guys, getting in the trenches and working with them. I'm not a coder, but you know what, if I can help these guys get their technology out and help me helping others, that'd be great. Visa and MasterCard, man, if these guys just knew what's coming. Yeah.
They do. That's why they've invested in Blockstream.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right, Jett. You're 100% right. Yeah.
Real quick, Jeremy, just for my own sorry, Jason, if you want to go on.
No, you're right, Jett. You're 100% right. That's why, yeah. We'd be at $1 million already if that didn't happen.
So Jeremy, just for my own curiosity, does Canada appear anywhere on like the audio downloads list? How much?
I'd have to check. I'm sure there's a bit. Must be in there somewhere.
It's interesting to me. I know Blockstream is a Canadian company, and I would expect
Blockstream is Canadian. I didn't know that. Wow.
Yes. If I hold on, let me quickly double check this. I'm nearly certain though.
Let me just see. I'll try and I might be able to send you a screenshot. I'll just see if I can quickly pull it up so we can get it on the stream and everybody can see what I'm talking about when I'm doing the podcast. So it goes out a few different ways. Obviously, it goes out on YouTube and on Odyssey and all this sort of stuff. Oh man, the followers is on the rise at the moment.
Headquartered in Victoria, Canada.
What about Spotify?
Yeah, well, I was having a look at my Spotify the other day because I made that song as well, and I've got 2 monthly listeners on Spotify. I thought, hell yeah, 2 monthly listeners. I thought it would be 0, but somebody's listening to my music. I think my all-time high was like 10 people in a day listen to my song, which was pretty awesome. Look, Jett, I'll just send you this screenshot. We'll see if we can bring it up on the stream here.
Okay.
Here we go. So if we do that, what you'll see is it's mostly centered around the US and around Europe, because I guess it's an English speaking podcast, and also that's where lots of people obviously live in those places. But there's a bit going on in Australia, and then just smattered around in South America, in Africa, in Saudi Arabia, in India and stuff like that. Not really in Russia. I mean, there's a lot of icy wasteland in Siberia, but in Russia and China, there's not really as much. And there's some in this kind of, Southeast Asia region, not really in Indonesia either. At least one listener from Hawaii, it looks like.
So
here's there we go.
Map.
And so I can actually zoom in on this a little bit, and then let me see. I'll see if I can send you a close in of like Europe, for instance, and then you can see a bit more of even different little towns or different people. It's just these little pinpricks of light on a heat map. You can only go so granular, so you can't really get to the exact essence of every single. I'm not like tracking people's like houses or anything like that, but you can just see all these little lights switching on around the globe. It makes me feel incredible.
That's good, man. That's good, because you're reaching people. So we all have a like a sphere of influence, and so you've got a reach, and then I've got a reach, and we're all connecting like chains, and we're spreading the reach. So now Bitcoin Jason is with Jett and Jeremy. So our chains of circle of influence, our
Overlapping,
yeah. So what's it, 6 degrees of separation or something like that? Yeah, it's all starting to connect. And I think the more people that are like that, I think Bitcoin Cash is just going to go. Yeah, that whole United Kingdom will be united in red listeners of, the Bitcoin Cash podcast. It's exciting.
Yeah.
Obviously it's going to be higher in English speaking countries than it is, say Russian speaking countries, because not many people, you'd be the English speakers that will hear it. But look at all those people. If you go to Australia, you got Byron Bay, which is the most east point of Australia. You got Byron Bay there, and then you got a whole lot in Sydney going down to Melbourne, and even into Tasmania there. You got a few New Zealanders. You got Perth in Western Australia. South
no one
Australia.
In the Northern Territory. haven't made it up there yet.
It depends if they're taking the internet signal from Brisbane or something like that, or from,
I guess they might be by their ISP, yeah.
Because I noticed that on the Bitcoin.com maps, a lot of my merchants, when you zoom right out, are in Papua New Guinea. Until you zoom in and you can see 148 type merchants, or 138. We're getting more on there. We're going to hit 200 merchants. We're going to hit 200 merchants. That's my short-term goal.
That's absolutely amazing.
Just
all right, next. Oh, go on.
Yeah, so the reason why I brought up the localization was because, I was nearly certain that Blockstream was Canadian. Double-checked. They are. At least their headquarters is in British Columbia. I would expect that for what I would consider the largest, or at least most well-known, crypto company in the entire world, that the country that it's based in would have more significant crypto resources. But the entire Canadian government so far has been very standoffish, and now it's been KYC and a lot of regulations, and I can't help but think maybe there's a whisper in someone that works
Silent
in
lobby.
Yeah, exactly. And then how much more popular would all of cryptocurrency be if especially in Canada, this is where I am. At least in the province of New Brunswick where I have experience, it's so difficult to actually get crypto, even to just pay. If I want to tip someone, I have to try and it's not enough to just be can I give you money? It's I'll give you 10% extra if you do this. And I can't help but have some reservations and feel like if Blockstream wasn't a thing, not only would crypto as a whole be better, but my specific area wouldn't be as hampered. And Canada would be, I think, in a better situation for crypto.
Why is that? Why do you have to say 10% extra for someone to look at something?
Well, part of that is just there's so many people that don't have, and I know this is we're going to a more mobile-based world, but there's so many people that just don't have computers, first off. There's so many people that, I think part of it's an education level. New Brunswick is a pretty poor province overall with not high standards of education. It's an aging province, a lot of retired folks. I think the only reason our population number is increasing is because we have so many people coming into New Brunswick. Left to our own devices, we'd probably die out. So I think part of it is just a lack of education, a lack of experience. A lot of people don't, and reasonably so, especially now, but they don't trust something that they can't see. It's this, I think there's just a lot of levels of cognitive dissonance, and it gets to a point where it's there has to be this extra magnitude, this extra little piece of incentive to I guess even try and convince people, like, and it's not just with cryptocurrency. If you want to get people to do new things at all here, like, you have to be very persuasive, very charismatic, and then still provide like this extra experience or a thing to take home, like that, like swag packs and things like that, right? So I can't pinpoint and be like, this is exactly it. But it is exceptionally difficult. I think more difficult than most places. I'm pretty sure I was the first business at all in my province to accept cryptocurrency, and this was before Bitcoin Cash was a thing. And then even now, the businesses that do accept it, it's more like, well, we have a crypto ATM in store. But there was only one, maybe two other merchants in my entire province that accepted any kind of crypto at all. And one of them, there's new ownership, so they no longer do that. So, yeah, it's pretty... And I feel like I've been going hard on Bitcoin Cash since like 2017, right? So it seems like I stopped doing meetups because I felt like a lot of my effort was essentially being wasted, and I could be more productive in an online sphere, at least momentarily. But
Jett, you said you would have like 20, 30 people turn up at your meetup. That's awesome, bro.
Right, but
Yeah,
it's like they're only accepting the cryptocurrency that I give them for showing up at the meetup, and a lot of those people were paying for it to get cheaper door prices because we'd have live music and partnerships with like local breweries and things like that. But like beyond that, it was like they'd get it, they might use it one or two times over the course of a couple of years, but yeah, we'd end up into situations where, like, I remember when I sponsored a tattoo expo, I gave out like multiple whole coins, and I think I've convinced myself that those coins are probably lost forever. Just like the demographic of my area doesn't have that kind of interest, I don't think. It's so weird because, like, yeah, I would think, if I'm giving away a whole coin, it was like maybe $500 or $600 Canadian at the time, then people would be like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, I'll find ways to use this. And it was, push people towards person, things like that, but it never felt like a click. And I never got feedback unless I was going to the person. And I don't mind doing that, but I'm a pretty introverted person in general, so it takes a lot out of me to like message first and be like, hey, I hope this is doing well. I've always had an open door for any questions, but to initiate that has always been a little harder.
Well, there's certainly an element, I think, that reality is decentralized, right? And that there's two angles to that. So the first one is that naturally there are going to be pockets in the world where, for whatever reason, culture or economics, or it just happened that there was a few more people that were able to get a network going or whatever, that there's somewhere that's going to be more receptive to it than others. So it seems like Townsville might be one of the most receptive, and New Brunswick might be one of the least receptive. So that's definitely a part of it. And the other part about reality being decentralized is that Blockstream and all the plan to sort of suppress Bitcoin and everything like that, that's they're fighting against its centralization versus decentralization. So they're able to influence things in one way or another way, to sort of shut stuff down. But at the end of the day, there's still not Orwellian enough that they can stop every single individual little person everywhere linking up with their mates and trading and doing this and that. And that's why it's been 5 years, but after the cracks are sort of starting to emerge, because the bigger things get, the bigger the advantage that decentralization has over centralization.
So I think real quick, just I really want, I've never said this, I think, anywhere before, but 3 or 4 years ago, I was at a local farmer's market. I was handing out brochures on how those people can accept Bitcoin Cash. And I know farmers markets aren't necessarily the best demographic, but I also know how much tax evasion happens there. So I was like, hey.
Yep.
And it was so weird as I was like trying to pitch. I think it was to like this bread stand. The MP for our riding like came up behind me and was like, "Hey, just kind of curious about what you're doing." And I offered him a whole like starter pack. It was like a T-shirt, a set of stickers, the "What's Bitcoin Cash" and how it's useful to you thing, and we had tried to set up a meeting to like just talk about cryptocurrency and how my city or my riding could maybe start to incorporate this because we are, well, I don't think we're there yet, but we're trying as a province, especially as a city, to be more tech friendly. I think, again, to attract people here. And it was like, it seemed so positive in that real face-to-face interaction. And then, messaging through the secretary to actually set something up, I just ended up getting ghosted. And well, maybe now I should go back, it's been 4 years, and be like, hey, I'm still on this kick. If you're finally ready to get on board, then that's fine by me. But I also feel like I shouldn't, and maybe I'm being entitled, but I feel like I shouldn't have to. Like, in my mind, there's so much positive things about cryptocurrency that I feel like it naturally attracted me. I had my own questions. I don't understand why I have to try and convince people. Like,
4 years. I'm just looking at my chart here. 4 years. See, what I do is when I give out Bitcoin Cash, I write the phone number in the description. So, and I put the name and what it was for. That way I could chase them up. That's a great way of follow up. All right. So that person 4 years ago, there's a good chance, even at this point that we're at, that they'll be in profit. 4 years ago. Farmers markets. Well, there was another point that you said.
I was talking about reality being decentralized.
Yeah, reality is central. Your first couple adoption people to accept it is your hardest ones, and then it starts slowly getting easier. So maybe for now it might be just a cafe or something like that. Tax evasion, maybe a pie shop. I don't know.
So my biggest success so far has been going to there was a bar that I held the meetups at, and that's the place that now has new owners, so they don't do it anymore. But aside from that, getting tattoo artists on board has been really easy for me, because they also need so many supplies that they can only get online, and I'm like, well, you can save 30%, check out Purse, like,
yep,
and that's an easy sell for them.
Yeah, so Purse doesn't really work well for us here in Australia. I find there's a lot of people that are time wasters there, and it's an American company and stuff like that, so it doesn't quite work here. Or maybe if Amazon's open up in Australia, so maybe it will work now. But I've tried using Purse, and I just saw old things there. But yeah, like I would go back. I'm going back to a cafe down here called Grandma's. They used to be on board, and then they changed hands, and then they stopped accepting it, the new owners. I'm going back there, and I'm saying, look, the old owners used to accept Bitcoin Cash. This is where I take my clients, I call them clients. This is where I do my business meetings. I can come here, bring business people here, have a lunch. We'll have it here. You accept Bitcoin Cash. I'm helping you. You're helping me. And they had what you call a decision maker. So you got to find out who is the decision maker. You find out who the decision maker is, and then you go, okay, and then you settle that argument. Oh, it's a fluctuation, or it's and you settle that, and said, look, just trial it. Just try it for a month. Trial it for a month, and then you tell me if you want to accept it after a month. No worries. No. Won't harm my feelings if you stop it, but you got everything to gain and nothing to lose. It costs you nothing to accept. I'm not asking you to set up some fancy dancy FPOS system. I'm nothing to hire out. Just give it a trial and just see how you go. And they always stay on. They always stay on once they get on.
That's it. There's always, in any local community, there's always this sort of centers of power, people
Yeah.
whoever it is who calls the shots, in a small business, it will actually be the owner. And that's one of the things, that I've been sort of working on a little bit here is, you just got to kind of get to the boss. You got to just wait until they'll be around. Like there's a corner shop near me where I get a lot of like snacks and stuff like that, and there's about 4 or 5 employees that rotate on a 2-week basis, and I'm in there often enough that I know all of them, and eventually I figured out, okay, this lady, she owns the shop and everything. And so I talked to her a little bit about it a couple times, 2, 3 times, 5 times, a month. You just slowly build it up. And then, she was like, I don't know about this. And then to my surprise, one day, suddenly she was having a great day. That day it must have been. And she just said to me, yeah, you've been telling me about all this cryptocurrency. And I said, yeah, Bitcoin Cash, blah, blah, blah. And she started telling me about, I've got some. I've got this coin. I've got this coin. I'm doing this. What do you think about this? Ripple is in a lawsuit with these guys and they're getting wrecked. And it just all like the floodgates just opened and all this blah, 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 all like came out. And then so I sent her some crypto. And that's another thing, is that people who haven't done much of this might not understand, but people are fucking thrilled when they get some crypto. If they get 20 cents or 50 cents or $1, it's like, this is the best thing ever. It doesn't really, it's just cool. It's just different. And people are not used to that kind of thing. And maybe they've heard about it a bunch. So when they actually see it happen themselves, it's like, wow, this is awesome. So yeah, I've been working on getting some adoption going there. We didn't quite get over the line, and the thing was, it was nearly there, but then it didn't integrate. It hasn't integrated with her payment system, so I might need to try this with the tablet and everything. But I think she's also got to do it's got to plug into her accounting software and all this, so there might be some other hurdles there, but
all right, Jeremy, let's touch base on that. You got okay, I just heard you. Okay, so the accounting software, I want to help you out here. All right, so a lot of the tablets are, there used to be a time, I'll take it right down to the basic. There used to be a day, right, when there was cassettes and records, that there were these things called checks.
Yeah.
Right? That check button's not being used anymore. So what you can do for this merchant is go, right, you might have an old cash register, that's fine.
Yeah.
The tablet's good. So what you do is you bring up how much it is on your cash register, you hit check, right? And so so what they do, they bring it up on the tablet, they bring it right? And when I scan it, goes in, cling, then they hit the check button and goes ding ding, and then what comes, they got this paper spill, it writes what it is, and then that $15 or $20 that you had for lunch, right, that is itemized as check, right? But they know that's the Bitcoin Cash sale, and it links up. I don't know if you know this, but in the Bitcoin.com app, you can actually see all the transactions. It's all timestamped.
Yeah.
So it marries up with their cash register. But a lot of these new ones,
I'll try that. Okay.
Yeah. So and a lot of these new cash registered ones, the digital ones, you can actually rename a tab, or instead of having check, you can just put Bitcoin. That's what our merchants do. They just put Bitcoin, and then boop, they put $287 for groceries, and then they pump it in there. Scan it, goes through, and they hit that Bitcoin button, bang, and it just goes on the till. And then they might have a spike, the old spike where they put the receipts on.
Yeah.
They might just take that receipt and just go boom on the spike. And so at the end of the month, they know they got all the Bitcoin Cash transactions, bang. And so they might go to someone that wants to buy, and they hand them all these things, and it's all timestamps, and then someone buys that BCH at cost. All
right, I'm gonna give this a go. There we go. That's an angle I didn't know about, because they've got she's definitely got like one of those big chunky things, like you're saying, that are from the mid 2000s or whatever, with like the awkward keyboard and everything. There's definitely that, but there's also the little newer, slicker little payment terminal thing. And at some point, that's also going to happen. Visa and MasterCard or whatever, just going to roll it out, and it'll just be a new button, pay with crypto, and it's just going to roll out to 100 million merchants, overnight. That will also eventually happen, and then all these merchants like her will jump on board instantly.
Mm.
I'm sure the second that gets in there as well too. All right, so moving on then, we got these BCH TikTok. This is not actually meme of the week, but it's almost meme of the week, which is I think it was the last episode, right? We talked about this guy, RealBossDaddy, who's popped up on TikTok and started making these TikToks of him chilling on he always says he's on a beautiful island in the second world. I think he must be in maybe St. Kitts or somewhere similar to that. And he made this one pumping BCH and saying it's got utility and you can buy hookers and it's great. And then afterwards, it was a bit of a meme in the BCH community. And then he said, "Oh no, haha, they think I'm just pumping BCH, but it's all a joke." But now it's
Len, are you talking about that
back
tweet?
onto it. Yeah.
Okay, so that Twitter account is not this guy. That Twitter account,
it's not this guy.
right? I did some looking into that. That Twitter account found this guy's TikTok and posted it in a mocking, like, "Oh, I can't believe this guy's fucking excited about BCH. We're still in early."
Oh, okay.
And then,
Well, there you go.
and then later replied to their own tweet, being like, "I can't believe people think I'm also supporting this." Like, so he was promoting it to be like, "Look at what the BCH folks are, I don't know, excited about."
Oh, okay. That makes more sense then.
Yeah.
So it was the separate person who commented on the original content and said BCH is kicking off over here. And then also, "Oh, I'm not a BCH person. I just came across it." Okay. Well, that makes a lot more sense then, because I thought this is a subtle game, right? Because this guy, he's got, I don't know, about 100 posts or something like that. But right from the very start, he had this green text on the videos, which was in the exact BCH greens. And then it just made sense to me. Somebody who knows marketing would do exactly this. First, they would create organic content that gets people interested. There's no agenda, right? And then once you've got an audience, you just put it. It doesn't have to be the Bitcoin Cash channel like this one. It's Bitcoin Cash all day, every day, right? But there's going to be other channels where it's going to be a lot of stuff. And then once every 5th or 10th post, it's Bitcoin Cash. So he followed up his initial one with a few others. So we've got one here that we're going to play on the stream. I don't know if we're not able to hear this, Jett. I'll also just link it over to Jason so he can listen to it.
Yeah, I don't think you guys will be able to hear it through my...
Okay, that's
Can
fine.
I full
We
screen? Oh, hold on, I'm not used to TikTok on desktop here. I can't full screen. Okay, well, I don't want any of this. All right, let's see. Interesting too. The green is different. This looks like the green that you like, Jeremy. Maybe he saw.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
hold
right.
on. Can I see?
We'll talk about that in a sec. Let's just hear the clip.
All right. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, I just can't stop on the Bitcoin Cash tangent. Here's why. As a former investment professional,
I'm not hearing it.
I like to find information that I feel like I know that's not priced in by the market. And living on a beautiful island in the second world, I feel like I have a unique perspective here. Not only am I seeing the terminals pop up, as I've mentioned in a previous video, I'm also seeing the cash machines. And that's the fucking key. It allows people who don't have bank accounts or credit cards to fund their digital payment app with actual cash. Now Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, your other payment apps do not and will not ever have this ability. Why? Regulatory concerns. After all, it's a fucking launderer's wet dream to be able to fund a digital payment account with cash. No? So, the mass adoption that everyone was waiting for with Bitcoin Cash is now finally coming. And that's the key takeaway. Okay, I just can't stop on the Bitcoin Cash tangent. Here's
yeah, I think what I found really interesting, about this, he's changed the green, which I'm in two minds about, because I think the other green was a bit more readable. So on his particular videos, it might be better to use that other green. But one thing that I sort of was deliberately we go turning into the TikTok screen.
Oh no! Oh no! Stop! I don't want to see this. All right, go ahead.
But one thing I think that's really important about Jason doing some content, about us doing some content, and so on and so forth, is that you start with the Bitcoin Cash specific content, that are people who are like in the scene all day, every day, or whatever, and we're, generating up ideas and doing all that. I don't need to have a channel that's going out to 10 million people, because what I know is going to happen is if I have a channel and Bitcoin Jason has a channel that's going out to a core group of people, other content creators, like we saw with Andrew Jick and like we're seeing with this guy, RealBossDaddy as well, they are going to watch our content. And I know that for a fact, because content creators, especially big ones, have got all day to sit around. He doesn't need to be an expert in BCH. I mean, it sounds like he's got most of the idea, but he can just watch 5 episodes of this and learn all of this stuff, and then repackage it up in a few little snippets to his audience, and then just blast it out like that. And so there is an actual much greater secondary reach, which is why it's very important. The sort of people who are doing BCH all day, every day, we don't need to be the biggest in the world for the coin to just start absolutely kicking off. As long as we're producing good enough content and have enough sort of visibility and discoverability that the people who want to dig for it, people like this guy, will find this. I would not be surprised if he had listened to some of this show, at some point, because how would he not? He's making these videos hyping BC. He's got to Google Bitcoin Cash or read up a bit on the Reddit or found this, that, or the other, right? So RealBossDaddy, great to have you in the listening audience. So, that's all it takes. It's the exact same thing with if Elon gets excited or whatever, it just needs to be that he finds that there's enough of an organic community that convinces him, and then he magnifies the message out to more, millions of people, right?
I think Kim.com and Gary, Roger Ver, should get Elon Musk and just get him on Kim's yacht or whatever, take him to St. Kitts and just say, look, have a holiday on us, here's Bitcoin Cash, here's some spending money, and just let him rip, just like, because everything he's talking about is all true. Like, it's like I haven't onboarded any hookers or strippers or anything like that, and I haven't, I don't go around that way, but I'm sure someone will. I'm sure there's a market for it somewhere, because we onboarded one merchant that does tuning forks and yoga and stuff like that, and some people gave us a bit of curry over it, but they didn't give us curry over the helicopter guy, Townsville Helicopters. They didn't give us curry over other ones. Bitcoin Cash is a range, broad spectrum of personalities, and you're right, Jeremy, like, a guy of that character, he's sort of making fun of Bitcoin Cash in a way, but it's all true. He's like, yeah, to the moon, man. Like, he's expressing wealth. I know guys that like to show off their BMWs and stuff like that, and they say the exact same thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, I suppose those slippers are a real show of wealth, right? But 2 things. I have successfully onboarded sex workers, just tipping them with Bitcoin Cash. Like, there was a couple weeks where I'm not like, I don't follow sex workers because I'm interested. I've got a couple friends that are sex workers, but I remember going through the hashtag and finding people that were just posting things on Twitter and then sending them a couple dollars here or there. And that works fantastically. But the last hackathon I was a part of, I worked with a team where we made essentially a sex toy that was accepted micropayments and would activate based on those micropayments. And we know that these websites can take upwards of 70% in fees. So if sex workers need something, or I guess would want to cut out that middleman, right, like the white paper so beautifully describes, then it's so easy to do with cryptocurrencies. And I think that's a massive market that even still doesn't quite understand.
Hasn't clicked yet. Yeah, it'll get there, but it's just and that's it. Yeah, Bitcoin Cash is for everyone. said it before, I'll say it again. You know, it's that same thing as the price with the fees being low. It's just a message that anybody can just plug in, and that's just quietly finding its way in all the world, and all, you know, the world's too complicated for anybody to understand. But somewhere, some way, just one or two little interactions are going on that nobody else knows about, or that we'll never hear about. But those things just slowly snowball, I think. And this is definitely, this guy coming out and pumping out BCH content just shows to me that he's tuned into that frequency as well too. Whether it's 6 months ago or 12 months ago, it wasn't there. He wasn't hearing it, or he wasn't seeing word happen on the street, or he wasn't convinced. But somewhere along the lines, he's picked up on what's going on. He's obviously loaded up a big bag himself. Good for him. That's the game. And now he's out shilling it. So you love to see it. You really love to see it. So yeah, shout out to you, RealBossDaddy. Okay, next thing, we've got community comment of the week, regular segments as we get into the finish. This one comes from CZ, the head of Binance, who got a bit of flack this week actually because he was on the cover of Time magazine, or I don't know, he was on some big magazine saying like the $74 billion man, and he said, "I'm not that rich," and everyone was like, "Well, what's a couple billion between friends here or there?" But he's made a killing out of running the largest exchange for everybody to speculate. So he posted this week on Twitter, there were $10 in Bitcoin transactions yesterday. You start to tax 30% today. How much tax will we collect today? Close to zero. Why? There were 10 birds in the tree. Bang, you shoot one down. How many birds are there left in the tree? And I thought this was a great tweet just because it was a bit sort of philosophical, but he's making a good point, which is that if you shoot one bird in the tree, you don't have 9 left, you've got 0 because the rest fly off, right? And the idea then is that if wherever in the world starts trying to crack down on crypto transactions and add tax and add regulations and add problems, well, crypto's liquid in the sense, obviously economically it's quite liquid, but it's also very freeform and adaptable. And again, that decentralized aspect to it, where wherever is cracking down the harshest, it will just slip out the sides and it'll find its way somewhere else. So it's beautifully designed in that sense to stop people, trying to put too much burdens on it, because really they're just cutting off their own nose to spite their face, right? So I thought this was an excellent point, and it kind of goes to the grassroots adoption stuff that we've been talking today. So I don't know, Jay, did this one make you laugh?
Yeah. I was thinking, there'd be no birds in the tree. They'd be gone. They'd be, just from the very get go of the bang.
Exactly. That's right. Yeah. You can't scare away the flock. You got to be a bit more subtle than that. When you bring a gun along, when you bring a sledgehammer, you're going to have trouble finessing the fine details. So I just thought that was interesting, and it just goes to show the ongoing debate around regulations and taxation and crypto, and all this stuff is happening. But at the same time, quietly, crypto is just every single day just chipping away a bit at the existing system at the edges, and it's good to see that even big community figures like that are obviously hyper aware of that phenomenon. So time is actually on our side in that sense, as more and more people become aligned with the crypto mission. Okay, then we got meme of the week from @EstradaClark. So we already talked a bit about Elon Musk. He bought up his big share of Twitter, and then he posted "Oh hi lol," real like glib or whatever on Twitter. And then of the many replies, there's obviously everybody, whatever there was, 35,000 people replying the tweets. Somebody posted, "Congrats, always surprising," and just this meme that I thought was pretty funny of the it's what's it called? It's from Godzilla versus Kong or whatever it is. Yeah, with Godzilla fighting King Kong in this huge epic showdown, and then they both start to flee as Elon Musk, who is just the Dogecoin Doge with a huge bat, comes in from the side, and these big monsters are terrified. So in the original picture, the Godzilla is labeled Bill Gates, and King Kong is labeled Jeff Bezos. And then in the second picture, they're both Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos are running off as Elon Musk just comes in with the biggest stick. And I don't know, in the process of him buying up a bunch of Twitter, and like we were talking about before, being a bit maverick and just throwing things into the mix that other people are not expecting. I could just see Elon himself laughing at this, that these two other guys are the big evil monsters, and he's, the strongest one of them all, but kind of the cutesy. It's like in Dragon Ball Z or anything like that, in any of these series where the most fearsome, most powerful one usually is some innocuous, like in Pokemon, like Mew was just not the coolest, not the spikiest, not the most deadly looking, but just was on the next level of power, and just everybody had to flee before it, so this one made me laugh. All right, cool. Well, let's go on then. Second to last slide, message to the community. So we've obviously talked a bunch. We've covered a lot, but to sum it up, what does the Bitcoin Cash community need to hear? What is Bitcoin Jason's message to the BCH community?
My message is, if you have Bitcoin Cash, I am, we're all Satoshi. Let's do our part.
I love it. Short and sweet, to the point. And you say that in all your videos. And I think it really captures that idea, that whole essence of, Satoshi being anonymous. Anybody could be Satoshi. And I'm really looking forward to one day somebody's going to make a Bitcoin movie. And I've thought about this in depth. It would be, there's got to be a scene where Satoshi is, in a PC bar or something, and, puts out the Bitcoin source code, and then walks out the door and just puts on like a hoodie or something and just blends into the crowd, and just that's that idea. And I really love that idea. All right. Okay, cool. Well, then that will pretty much do it for the show. So we've got the donation QR code. As always, huge shout out to the donators. Thank you very much. I absolutely love your support. And a few people actually donated to the last episode, more than regular. So it seems like the show's kind of getting rolling. People are definitely enjoying it. You can check out bitcoincashpodcast.com for all the start guide, FAQs, links, and everything. And I also want to hype up Odyssey, Rumble, and BitChute. In the links, people can have a look and follow me on those, because I'm sort of pushing the YouTube channel. Thank you very much, mate. Just scored a donation right there live on stream. I just sort of think it's a good idea if people sort of try and follow those channels a bit as well too. I'm worried that at some point YouTube's just going to go on a crypto ban spree or whatever. It doesn't seem wise to have the eggs all in one basket with YouTube. I want to shout out my patron Ricky, and then I want to give each of you guys a chance to give a shout out, and then I've got a final shout out as well too. So Jason, where can people find you, and how can they get involved with what you're doing in Bitcoin Cash?
Bitcoin Jason on gaze.cash. That's GAZE.cash. Noise.cash. I've got a new Twitter handle, Bitcoin Jason on Twitter. On YouTube, Bitcoin Jason. And now I'm on Facebook. I've been
back at it. Yeah,
I'm back only because my merchants are on there, so that's the only reason why I'm on Facebook. They did kick me off. And now I'm back. So so that's where you can find me, and feel free to leave a comment. I'm really I'll reach out to me, I'll reach out back. So
we'll put all those links in the description. Jett, do you have a shout out this week?
Not this week, but Jason, what's your Twitter handle?
It's linked in the tweet that I did for the show.
Okay. I don't think I follow you yet, but your name doesn't come up in the search, so
censored once again.
Could be shadow
my
banned.
oldest, it could be the Bitcoin Jason is my new one. My old one, my personal one, was at Crypto Lifestyle.
Yeah. All right. And my shout out this week goes to Kieran, who I got interested in Bitcoin Cash yesterday. So the story is I went to buy a new bed and a new mattress and everything like that. So I found this place and I went in there, and we were just trying out all these different mattresses and having some banter with him and stuff. And he said, "Oh, do you want to buy it on, credit. You can do all these payment plans and different stuff. And I said, look, mate, I've got the money. Just let me just pay for it up front. I'm not into any of this debt and different, whatever. And so we were just talking and the whole process. And then when it kind of came to, okay, you've got to pay, we were going over, the line items and everything like that. And he discovered that the pillows that I was buying the price had gone up. There'd been inflation happening. And so he was surprised by that, because I guess he works in the store every day. So he knows, if the prices are changing. And so the prices had gone up, and the other girl who was working there with him, she said, like, I made a joke like, oh, inflation's wrecking us all or whatever. And she said, oh, well, at least you understand. Other people, they don't understand. Like, I was here last week and now the price has gone up, what's going on? So then I said, oh, can I pay in crypto then? That's the way out of this. And so Kieran, he said, no, you can pay in Neo though. And I said, oh, okay, can I? And he was a big fan of Neo, but so we just had a bit more of a chat. And then I told him, yeah, okay, you can check out the podcast, bitcoincashpodcast.com and all that. And he couldn't do it. We're wrapping up the actual sale at the merchant, but then he got out a pen and paper and he wrote it down, and I'm pretty sure he'd be listening to this show as well too, because he was a bit sort of surprised when he asked, so what coins do you use? I said Bitcoin Cash. He said, oh, do you have some other one? I said, no, just Bitcoin Cash. It's the best one. And he was, it's kind of that thing where there's so many people. He said he'd been in crypto about 3 or 4 years. So after the last bubble, he got involved and he made some gains and some losses on some different ones and everything like that. So it was just this moment to me where, he was already interested in it. It's that what I was talking about before with the two people and the merchant, is that him and I were talking about it, and the other two employees at the store, they were quiet. They didn't say anything or they didn't look, but I'm sure it made an impression on them too, that like, wait a second, crypto is getting to the point where crypto community they're just going off in their own direction. If you don't want to be part of it, you're just getting quietly left behind, and it's up to you to realize that. You can be sitting around not involved or just curious or a bit unsure or whatever, but the world's just powering forward. We don't really have time to argue about it with anybody who doesn't get it, and especially in those face-to-face interactions. Online, there's a lot of crypto is terrible and all that, but face-to-face with real people that are just excited about, could be excited about the local sports team, right? It's just similar to that. So anyway, big shout out to him if he's listening, which I'm pretty sure he would be, because he already knew a lot of the crypto stuff, and if he's just found this, I'm sure he'll be loving the Bitcoin Cash community as well too. So
send me his wallet address and I'll tip him.
I don't have his wallet address. That was the thing, because we were just kind of trying to, it all happened pretty fast. We were just in the store. He was on the job. I couldn't take 10 minutes out of his day to give him some BCH, but maybe, I don't know, maybe he'll comment in the YouTube comments or the Twitter or something like that, and we'll track him down. But yeah, absolute legend, and made a sale there. So that's everyone was happy. Everyone came out a winner. So anyway, that will do it for the show, and until next time. Time to crypto switch. That's BCH, bitch. Dollars keep the bankers rich. It's on you to choose which. Yup. Get a phone while I buy a few bits. Go out and pay for shit with it. Things change, think of marijuana. GameStop stock, same side. Rob. Online buy drugs. No guns, no thugs. No thugs. You're living in a money trap. Get yourself a crypto app. While the rich banks rob ya, future dollars can buy nothing for ya.